Chapter 22. Xiao Chen was not a fickle person in the first place. Otherwise, he would not have held back when he used the divine thunder break. However, now that Xiao Jian was provoking him again, he was extremely frustrated. Wasn't he just a martial master? Was there a need to be cocky? In front of Xiao Ju, Xiao Chen could not flare up. He smiled gently and said, "When you have the ability, then you can boast again." Without waiting for Xiao Jian to reply, he turned around and left. "You." Xiao Jian watched as Xiao Chen left. His eyes turned cold and he clenched his fist tightly. "I, Xiao Jian, will not lose to this trash no matter what. Second young master, I have finally found you. The first elder is looking for you." As Xiao Chen was preparing to return, he bumped into the servant girl who had asked him to participate in the clan's strength test. He felt it was strange. Why is the first elder looking for me? Stopping, Xiao Chen looked at the personal servant girl of the first elder and asked, "Do you know why the first elder is looking for me?" The servant girl answered honestly, "This servant is not sure about the specifics. However, seeing how anxious the first elder is, it should be something important." If it was in the past, the servant girl would not even bother with Xiao Chen. She would just pass on a message and leave. However, today, not only did she answer Xiao Chen's question honestly, her attitude was also very humble. "Lead the way," Xiao Chen said indifferently, ignoring the change in the servant girl's attitude. The servant girl seemed somewhat nervous. She did not dare to say anything along the way. After she brought Xiao Chen to the first elder's courtyard, she immediately took her leave. After entering the courtyard, Xiao Chen saw the first elder waving at him from the stone table. He quickly walked over. Xiao Xiong was in closed-door cultivation, so the first elder had the highest position in the Xiao clan. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. Seeing Xiao Chen standing in front of the table, the first elder smiled gently and said, "Sit down. We are all family, there is no need to be so reserved." Xiao Chen expressed his thanks. After he sat down, he asked cautiously, "May I know why first elder called me here?" Xiao Chang smiled and did not say anything. He picked up the teacup on the stone table and poured a cup of tea for Xiao Chen. He smiled and said, "This tea is the best tea from the south. It is very difficult to buy it in Cheesy County. Try it." Xiao Chen didn't know anything about tea leaves. He forced himself to take a sip and said, "Great elder, you're looking for me. Don't be anxious. I will thank you for Yulan's matter first." Xiao Chang interrupted Xiao Chen, "This girl has stayed on the mountain for so many years, refusing to come down. If it were not for you, she would not have come down. I heard from Yulan that your martial spirit is a purple flame. Can you show it to me?" Xiao Chen nodded his head and a ball of purple flame appeared in his palm. It flickered continuously, giving off a strange glow. Xiao Chang's expression turned grave as he looked at the purple thunder true fire in Xiao Chen's hand. He raised his hand and essence gathered in his right palm. A suction force was emitted from his palm. When he felt this force, Xiao Chen did not resist and allowed Xiao Chang to absorb a trace of the purple flame. ZZ. Xiao Chang looked at the flame burning with essence in his palm and said with satisfaction, "This flame is indeed tyrannical." Xiao Jian was distracted by it previously. "With my cultivation as a martial grand master, I would have to spend a lot of effort to extinguish this flame. First elder is too polite. With first elder's strength, this flame would not be able to harm you at all." Seeing Xiao Chen being so humble, Xiao Chang was very satisfied. He laughed loudly and casually extinguished the flame in his palm. "This flame is extremely pure. In the future, you can try being an alchemist." The flames used by alchemists in the Tianwu continent all came from their martial spirit. This required the alchemist's martial spirit to be a fire-attributed spirit beast or a fire-attributed holy item. If it was a pure purple thunder true fire like Xiao Chen's, that would be the best. However, the first elder did not know that Xiao Chen's purple thunder true fire was not his martial spirit. Xiao Chen nodded his head. I did have such thoughts before. However, the requirements to become an alchemist is extremely high. In the entire Mo city, there is not a single alchemist above grade 2. It would not be easy to become an alchemist. Xiao Chen's words were half true and half false. If an alchemist was willing to accept him as a disciple, that would be for the best. In the future, he would be able to refine pills with half the effort. However, even if there was no high-ranked alchemist to guide him, it would not be difficult for him to successfully refine pills by relying on the complete alchemy section of the Compendium of Cultivation. Xiao Chang muttered to himself for a while before saying, I have an introductory alchemy book here. I will get someone to send it to you later. The introductory alchemy book was not very precious. However, Xiao Chen was very interested in how this world refined pills, so he could take a look. He smiled and said, Thank you, First Elder. However, after speaking for so long, the First Elder still did not tell Xiao Chen the true reason for calling him here. Young Master Xiao, I would like to count you in for the duels for the promise of 10 years. What do you think? Just a moment ago, Xiao Chen was still thinking about the First Elder's purpose for calling him here. However, the First Elder immediately gave him an answer, as if he had seen through Xiao Chen's thoughts. The duels for the promise of 10 years involved the Seven-Horn Mountain, which the Xiao clan relied on for survival. If they lost the duels, the Xiao clan would immediately become a second-rate clan in Mo City. At that time, those clans that had a bad relationship with the Xiao clan would definitely kick them while they were down. Let's not talk about whether Xiao Chen could leave or not. Whether it was the current Xiao Chen or the previous Xiao Chen, he still had some feelings for the Xiao clan. If he left, what would happen to Xiao Yulan? What would happen to Xiao Chen's father? Since he had occupied someone else's body, he would have to bear some responsibility. Although Xiao Chen was a nerd, he still had some sense of responsibility. Thus, for this promise of 10 years, even if the First Elder did not say anything, he would do his best to help the Xiao clan survive this crisis. From then on, the grudges between him, Xiao Chen, and this clan would be settled. Xiao Chang saw that Xiao Chen was silent and thought that he was not willing to agree. He continued, This is actually your father's intention. He knows that you condensed a martial spirit and even defeated Xiao Jian, so he is very happy for you. My father? Isn't he in closed-door training? Xiao Chen asked suspiciously. Xiao Chang smiled, no matter how much he is in closed-door training, he is still human. He needs to eat and drink. I took some time to tell the clan head about your situation. He did not seem surprised. Furthermore, he specifically asked you to participate in the duels for the promise of 10 years. Not surprised? Could it be that he already knew that I would condense a martial spirit? Furthermore, he even knew that I condensed a blue dragon martial spirit. However, the First Elder did not seem to be the case. Otherwise, he would not have treated my Purple Thunder True Fire as my martial spirit. That's right, First Elder, when can my father come out? He has already been in closed-door training for 3 years, right? Even when a normal person breaks through to the martial saint realm, it would not be this exaggerated, requiring such a long time. Seeing that there was an opportunity to ask about Xiao Xiong, Xiao Chen immediately asked the question that he had been suppressing in his heart for a long time. On the path of cultivation, there were 3 most important hurdles. The first was naturally to condense a martial spirit. As long as one successfully condensed a martial spirit before the age of 10, their cultivation would definitely reach the martial Grand Master realm. It was only a matter of time. The second hurdle was when a martial Grand Master was breaking through to the martial Saint realm. After that, one's cultivation would at least reach the martial King realm. Otherwise, one would be stuck at the martial Grand Master realm for the rest of their lives. As for the last hurdle, the Emperor Wu hurdle, it was ethereal and incomparably mysterious. Most people said that the realm after that was the legendary martial god. However, whether or not martial gods truly existed, no one was sure. Xiao Chang drank a cup of tea and said seriously, the martial technique that your father cultivates is different. He is accumulating his strength. Once he succeeds in breaking through, he will immediately reach the peak of Martial Saint Realm. At that time, our Shao clan will not only have a place in Mo City, but even the entire Cheesy County. All of this has a precondition, which is to protect the Seven-Horn Mountain Range. In the past few years, the Zhang clan's strength has increased by leaps and bounds. They are not inferior to our Shao clan and cannot be underestimated. If they were to obtain the rights to the Seven-Horn Mountain Range, our Shao clan's fate would be very ugly. Hence, second young master, you had better reconsider the matter of the promise of 10 years. The first elder's way of speaking was not ordinary. After changing the topic for a while, he was able to bring it back to the same topic. Xiao Chen's thoughts moved like lightning. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that he could make use of this opportunity to ask for some benefits from the first elder. Coincidentally, he was still lacking a spirit weapon. After which, he said with a bitter expression, "First elder, it is not that I am unwilling to agree. Look at me, I am empty-handed. I do not even have a spirit weapon." Xiao Cheng smiled, "Your appetite is really big. The moment you open your mouth, you want a spirit weapon. However, are spirit weapons something that can be easily obtained? Even Xiao Jian only managed to obtain a spirit weapon when he just advanced to the martial master realm. If one wanted a spirit weapon, one had to be a martial master. There was such a rule. As long as one reaches the martial master realm, one can possess a spirit weapon. This is the rule of our Shao clan. However, I do have a few spirit weapons in my private collection. I can let you choose one." The first elder changed the topic, causing the hopeless Xiao Chen to rejoice. Xiao Cheng casually waved his hand and 4 spirit weapons appeared on the stone table. It was another spatial ring. Xiao Chen looked enviously at the grayish-white ring on the first elder's finger. When the purple thunder divine incantation reaches the second layer and I learn how to refine weapons, I will definitely get myself a spatial attributed magic treasure. Shifting his gaze to the 4 spirit weapons on the stone table, Xiao Chen observed them carefully. Of the 4 spirit weapons, 3 were swords and 1 was a saber-shaped spirit weapon. However, the luster of these spirit weapons was not very good. After Xiao Chen held them in his hand and tested them one by one, he could determine that they were only inferior grade yellow ranked spirit weapons. Inferior grade yellow ranked spirit weapons were the trashiest of spirit weapons. Xiao Chen felt that it was a pity, but he could not show this expression on his face. Most people would be overjoyed when they obtained a spirit weapon. How could they feel that it was a pity? To prevent the first elder from becoming suspicious, Xiao Chen's expression was incomparably excited. "How is it? Have you chosen?" Xiao Cheng said with satisfaction when he saw Xiao Chen's excited expression. Xiao Chen picked up the saber-shaped spirit weapon and saw the words Lunar Shadow written on the handle. He said, "This is the Lunar Shadow." The dragon subduing slash could only be executed with a saber. Xiao Chen did not have any other choice. Chapter 23. Shao Clan, Xiao Chen's independent courtyard. In the Shao residence, not everyone had the qualifications to have an independent courtyard. Aside from the clan elders and guests, only the direct descendants like Xiao Chen could have one. Xiao Chen carefully held the inferior grade yellow ranked spirit weapon in his hand, Lunar Shadow Saber. The saber was 1.2 meters long and 2 fingers wide. The streamlined blade was similar to the final form of the Grim Reaper's crescent moon, but it was not as long. Closing his eyes and focusing his mind, Xiao Chen carefully felt the energy contained in the saber. A faint energy came from the saber and flowed into Xiao Chen's body, slowly heading towards his dantian. Slowly, this strand of energy flowed into the blue dragon martial spirit under his dantian. Strands of essence followed this strand of strange energy and returned to the saber. Xiao Chen was pleasantly surprised. This strand of essence was clearer, purer, and more tyrannical than the one that flowed from the blue dragon. Perhaps it was because the grade of the spirit weapon was too low, this pure essence could only flow back to the saber through that thin strand. Xiaochen could clearly feel that only a tenth of the energy contained in the martial spirit was transmitted back to the saber. If the grade of the spirit weapon was higher, this strand of energy would definitely be thicker. At that time, the amount of essence that was transmitted back would definitely be more than a tenth. Opening his eyes, he carefully felt this strange state. Xiaochen held the lunar shadow saber and waved it in the air a few times. Strands of electricity surrounded the saber and the image of the azure dragon occasionally flickered on the saber. Kill! Xiaochen shouted and leaped up ferociously. The lunar shadow saber, which was infused with electricity and the dragon image, hacked down 3 times in the air. Something strange happened. Just as Xiaochen was exhausted, the martial spirit in his body suddenly sent out a surge of energy. The dragon image on the saber suddenly sent out a surge of energy, pulling the slowly descending Xiaochen upwards. Following this surge of energy, Xiaochen made a strange turn in the air. His body actually rose up again. The energy from the blue dragon martial spirit in his body continued to surge endlessly. Qi! 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 Xiaochen sent out another 3 ferocious saber strikes. Electricity flickered, and a dragon roared. Thunder seemed to roar in the white clouds a kilometer above him. When it resonated with him, it sounded like a tiger roaring and a dragon roaring. After 3 slashes, Xiaochen's body rose again. At this time, he was already more than 30 meters above the ground. This was the first time that Xiaochen had been so high in the air. He could not help but feel nervous and fearful. However, the exploration of the unknown occupied Xiaochen's mind. For some reason, a kind of heroic spirit rose up in his heart, as if he was looking down on the world. Just how high can I, Xiaochen, fly? Hua! 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 After another 3 slashes, Xiaochen's body rose another 5 meters. Half of the Xiao residence appeared before Xiaochen's eyes. Fortunately, Xiaochen's courtyard was rather remote. Otherwise, at this height, he would have been discovered long ago. This cycle continued for another 2 times. Xiaochen's body was now 70 to 80 meters above the ground. He had exhausted most of his essence. Xiaochen did not dare to be careless. If he exhausted all his essence, even if he did not die from the fall, he would be severely injured. After making up his mind, he sheathed his saber and descended like a meteor. A formless blue dragon wrapped around Xiaochen. It created a shockwave in the air and smashed into the ground violently. The wind howled in his ears. Xiaochen shouted loudly. Using the momentum of his descent, he sent out a saber strike at lightning speed. Using the boundless momentum, this saber strike had the force of 1,000 kilograms. It was majestic, like 10,000 horses galloping, unstoppable. Bang! The ground shattered with a loud bang. A huge pit appeared in the courtyard. Countless broken rocks shot out from the ground, filling the sky. When the wind blew, the broken rocks immediately turned into dust. In an instant, the entire courtyard was filled with dust and smoke. Xiaochen's 4 limbs were spread out as he laid on the ground. He panted heavily. His current mood was indescribable. Originally, he only wanted to use the spirit weapon to test the power of the blue dragon martial spirit. He did not expect that after accidentally stumbling around, he would actually comprehend a powerful martial technique. This martial technique was at least a high-grade profound ranked martial technique. Furthermore, it was created by Xiaochen himself. It was unique in the Tianwu continent. How could he not be excited? He had to think of a name. Let's call it Meteor Burst. It would smash into the ground like a meteor and explode with the power of a meteorite. Meteor Burst, he repeated it in his heart. The more Xiaochen repeated it, the more satisfied he felt. But was this meteor burst truly unique in this world? In reality, it was not. The blue dragon martial spirit was mysterious and unfathomable. It had existed for thousands of years. Dragons could be big or small. They could hide or rise. When they were big, they could swallow clouds and spit out mist. When they were small, they could hide. When they rose, they could soar into the 9 heavens. When they were hidden, they could hide within the waves. Soaring into the sky, rising from the ground. This was extremely normal for the blue dragon martial spirit. The various mystical abilities and martial techniques of the blue dragon martial spirit were not passed down in the Shao clan due to mysterious reasons. The meteor burst that Shao Qin used just now was a martial technique exclusive to the blue dragon martial spirit. The divine dragon descending chop was a martial technique exclusive to the blue dragon martial spirit. Martial techniques exclusive to the holy beast martial spirit were well preserved in other clans with holy beast bloodlines. These people did not need to fumble around randomly like Shao Qin. When they reached a certain realm, they could easily obtain it from the clan's library. Compared to Shao Qin, they were much more fortunate. After resting on the ground for a while, Shao Qin slowly recovered some strength. His complexion was already somewhat pale. This attack had exhausted too much essence. After struggling to stand up, Shao Qin casually tidied up his clothes and stared at the gates of the courtyard. He could sense someone's footsteps approaching slowly. However, this person's essence was very weak. It did not seem like a martial Dao expert. After understanding it, Shao Qin put it down. Hey, what's going on here? After a while, a maidservant appeared in Shao Qin's vision. The maidservant looked at the dusty courtyard and the potholes on the ground. She exclaimed softly. Looking at the maidservant in front of him, Shao Qin frowned slightly. What is your name? Who sent you here? The maidservant looked at the dusty Shao Qin. Shao Qin looked like a clay figurine. She found it funny and said softly, replying to second young master, this servant is called Bao. The first elder sent me to deliver this book to you. Shao Qin walked over and received the book. It was the introductory alchemy compendium that the first elder said he would give him. His expression warmed up and he smiled, thank you. After thanking the maidservant, Shao Qin turned around and headed for the bedroom. He wanted to take a set of clothes and take a bath. The dust on his body made him feel uncomfortable. However, the maidservant called Bao did not leave. She continued to follow him slowly. Shao Qin felt it was strange. He turned around and smiled, why aren't you leaving yet? Do you want to accompany this young master to bathe? Bao's face turned red. Her pretty face was covered in a red glow. She said softly, the first elder sent me here to serve second young master. He said that if second young master has any orders, I must do it. If second young master wants Bao to bathe, Bao does not dare to disobey. Damn. I only said it casually and this girl really accompanied me to bathe. Snobbish. Shao Qin could not remember a time when he had a maidservant to serve him. He did not expect that the moment he agreed to the first elder's request, there would be a spirit weapon, an alchemy compendium, and everything else. Now, the first elder even sent a maidservant to him. However, this kind of snobbish girl, this young master quite likes it. The more the better, hee. Unfortunately, this was not the time to enjoy it. If he fell into a land of gentleness, his cultivation on the path of martial arts might not be able to recover. The Tianwu continent was filled with experts. Not to mention those far away, just the Zhang clan's Zhang He alone was not someone he could deal with. How could he lust after this worldly beauty? I can only put up with being a mage for now. In the future, when I stand at the peak, the scenery I will be able to enjoy will definitely not be something this small Mo city can compare to. How can I, Shao Qin, just stay in Mo city? After thinking for a while, Shao Qin scratched his head and said, this. I was just saying it casually. Don't take it seriously. I will not ask you to accompany me to bathe. Bao's face was already bright red. After saying those embarrassing words, her heart was thumping non-stop. She said in a soft voice, then, does young master have any other orders? Bao is now young master's personal maidservant. Aside from serving young master, there is nothing else for me to do. Xiaochen patted his head, not knowing what to do. This was truly a difficult problem. If she did not accompany him to bathe or sleep, what else could this maidservant do? If Bauer knew of Xiaochen's current thoughts, she would definitely be angered to death. A maidservant was not there to serve her master while he slept. There were many things she had to do. Only a 21st century geek like Xiaochen would have such evil thoughts. That's right, help me go to the city and buy some herbs. Xiaochen thought of something and said joyfully. Too many things had happened during the day. He was too lazy to make another trip. Having a ready-made maidservant would be able to help him out. After the battle with Zhang He and the meteor burst that he just comprehended, Xiaochen could clearly feel that he had an excess of essence, but his reserves were severely insufficient. Regardless of whether he executed a strong martial technique or burned the purple thunder true fire at a high intensity, he could not maintain it for a long time. This was a very serious problem. If he were to encounter a protracted battle, or if he were to refine a pill with a higher difficulty, the lack of essence would become his fatal weakness. The only way to deal with this was to increase his cultivation and quickly cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the second layer. That way, he would be able to store more essence in his body. If he wanted to cultivate quickly, aside from being diligent, he definitely could not be lacking in medicinal pills. Xiaochen took out some paper and ink from the study and started to write. Although he was not good at writing with a brush, the owner of this body was a native of this world. Naturally, he would not be unfamiliar with writing with a brush. After he finished writing, Xiaochen gently blew on the ink on the paper. Looking at his own handwriting in satisfaction, Xiaochen took out his personal seal and handed it to Bao. He smiled and said, "Just buy according to what is written on the paper. They are not very rare herbs. You should be able to buy them from the ordinary herb stores in Mo City. Take my personal seal and go to the cashier to withdraw some money. If you have any leftover, use it to buy some makeup or cosmetics. Keep the change." Bauer received it in a daze. She said in disbelief, "Young master, you are asking Bauer to run errands?" Normally, the work of a maidservant would be to serve tea, tidy up the house, help the master put on clothes and fold the blankets. If there were some special requests, they would need Nuanchuan to accompany them to bathe. However, these errands were usually done by the male servants. Furthermore, Xiaochen's reputation in the Xiao clan was not very good. Bauer did not expect that Xiaochen would only ask her to run errands. "If you don't run errands, what else can you do? Don't tell me you are going to warm the bed of this young master." Xiaochen smiled, "Why? If you can't do it, then I will find someone else." Bauer immediately reacted. Her petite face was full of smiles as she said joyfully, "I can do it, I can do it. I will do it now. Young master, rest assured, Bauer will definitely do it beautifully." Seeing Bauer run out like a wisp of smoke, Xiaochen smiled in satisfaction. Having a maidservant was not bad. At least he did not have to worry about running errands in the future. Chapter 24. After taking a bath, Xiaochen changed his clothes. He laid on the bed and began to read the introductory alchemy compendium that the first elder had given him. Lying on the bed and reading was a habit that he had developed in his original world. Even in this world, it could not be changed. If someone were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. Alchemy was the most respected profession in the Sky Martial continent. No matter if it was a high-quality medicinal pill for healing injuries, a miraculous medicinal pill for changing one's physique, or a medicinal pill for increasing one's cultivation speed. To martial artists, it had a great attraction. The rarity of alchemy, in addition to the huge demand, naturally made this profession far more respected than other professions. Xiaochen flipped through the book page by page. This introductory compendium was not very thick, it was only a few dozen pages. Xiaochen read it word by word, and it did not take long for him to finish reading it. The introductory compendium was just an introductory compendium. There was basically no substantive content, it was just a rough introduction to alchemy. However, Xiaoqin still had some gains, and had a rough understanding of this world's alchemy. The alchemists in the Sky Martial Continent were divided into 7 ranks, from 1 to 7, from the lowest to the highest. The alchemist's rank test had to be conducted in a specialized alchemist association. To become an alchemist, there were 3 requirements. The first was to have a fire-attributed martial spirit, or to have a fire-attributed cultivation technique that could condense a real fire. This was the most basic requirement for an alchemist. The second requirement was to have an understanding of medicinal ingredients. This requirement required an extremely solid foundation, and a thorough understanding of every medicinal herb, its effects, and its composition. This requirement could not be achieved through trickery, and could only be achieved through a large amount of reading. The third requirement was spiritual awareness. This was the most elusive and also the most difficult to grasp requirement. Spiritual awareness was similar to a martial artist's perception, but it was not exactly the same. Some people might walk very far on the path of a martial artist, but they could not awaken spiritual awareness. Some people might awaken spiritual awareness, and their spiritual awareness was extremely strong, but they did not have any achievements on the path of a martial artist. The so-called spiritual awareness referred to an alchemist's intuition, touch, and mental connection with the medicinal ingredients. The last requirement was the most important. The faster, more stable, and more meticulous the mental connection with the medicinal ingredients, the further this person could walk on the path of an alchemist. Xiaoqin compared these 3 requirements to himself. He had the purple thunder true fire, so he naturally passed the first requirement. The second requirement was his understanding of medicinal ingredients. The Compendium of Cultivation's alchemy section had a very detailed record of medicinal ingredients. After reading it for 3 years, he had already memorized it by heart. Furthermore, he had long discovered that the medicinal ingredients of this world were similar to what was recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation. The third condition was a little strange. The alchemy chapter in the Compendium of Cultivation did not have any records regarding spiritual awareness. However, he was not too worried. After all, the alchemy recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation was different from this world. The alchemy section of the Compendium of Cultivation did not have any records of spiritual awareness. However, he was not too worried. After all, the alchemy section of the Compendium of Cultivation was different from this world's alchemy section. Furthermore, the alchemy recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation was even more mysterious and profound than the alchemy of this world. For example, the fasting pill that he was going to refine. After consuming it, one would not need to eat or drink for a month. This was something that he had never heard of in this world. When the sky was about to turn dark, Bauer finally returned to Xiaoqian's courtyard with a large bag of medicinal ingredients. Seeing Bauer covered in sweat, Xiaoqian could not bear it. She looked like she was only 14 or 15 years old. In his original world, she was still in middle school, the age of a flower. He said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. Actually, I am not in a rush." "You don't have to rush." When Bauer heard this, she was stunned. "Did I hear wrongly? The famous silk pants of the Xiao clan is actually apologizing to a maidservant?" When Xiaoqian was still trash, his reputation was already very bad. After he defeated Xiao Jian, although everyone knew that he was no longer trash, their evaluation of him did not improve. Everyone said that he was a petty person intoxicated by success and became even more unbearable than before. There were even rumors that he taught a lesson to all those who humiliated him in the past. Bauer had heard many of these rumors from the servants. If Xiaoqin knew of these things, he would definitely be incomparably depressed. Seeing Bauer in a daze, Xiaoqin was somewhat worried. He asked in a soft voice, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Bauer recovered her wits. She was not used to Xiaoqian's tone. Her face turned slightly red as she said in a soft voice, "Bauer is fine. Thank you for young master's concern." Xiaoqin relaxed and said, "You can go back first. There is nothing else I need your help with for now." When Bao heard this, she looked at Xiao Chen in shock. She said nervously, "Young master, are you chasing me away? The first elder said that I am already your personal maidservant. From today onwards, I will be staying here. If Bao goes out, the first elder will definitely think that Bao did not serve you well and will punish me." Xiao Chen did not expect such a situation to occur. These servants and maidservants were all orphans or children of poor families. They had all signed contracts to sell themselves. If they made a mistake, even if they were beaten to death, they would not be held responsible. Although the Xiao clan did not have such strict rules, they still had necessary punishments. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He had never encountered such a situation before and did not know what to do. Xiao Chen's courtyard was more than enough for one person to live in. However, he had too many secrets. Having a stranger by his side would not make him feel at ease. After thinking for a long time, Xiao Chen could not think of a solution that would satisfy both sides. Looking at the pitiful Bao, his heart softened. "You can stay here for now. There is a room on the east side. You can stay there tonight." Bao smiled happily and said, "Bao thanks second young master. I will go and prepare supper for second young master." Helplessly looking at Bao's departing figure, Xiao Chen shook his head. He turned his gaze to the herbs she brought and checked them one by one. 20 saffron, 50 pieces of octagonal lotus, 20 pieces of tiger paw grass, 20 pieces of spearmint. After counting them one by one, the herbs Xiao Chen requested were all correct. This girl's ability to get things done was quite good. Xiao Chen smiled to himself as he picked up a piece of tiger paw grass and examined it carefully. The top of the foot-long rhizome had 4 purple leaves with a hint of green. Looking at this stalk of tiger paw grass that was no more than 10 years old, Xiao Chen thought suspiciously. What exactly is spiritual sense? How can I establish a mental connection with it? Gently holding the herb in his hand, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and sank his consciousness. His consciousness followed his essence and slowly moved to his right hand. The essence left his body and gently wrapped around the herb. However, his consciousness remained within his body. It was blocked by the skin and flesh of his palm, unable to leave his body. After trying a few times, Xiao Chen's consciousness was unable to establish any connection with the tiger paw grass in his hand. There was a difference between consciousness and spiritual sense. Just as Xiao Chen was about to give up, his consciousness suddenly caught sight of a strange green energy web on the surface of his palm. The green energy web had a tiny thread of energy that entered his body through his essence. It quickly connected with his consciousness, and a green world suddenly appeared in front of Xiao Chen's consciousness. Within the green space, there were all sorts of intricate lines that intersected with each other like a labyrinth. Strands of mental energy flowed all over the green space, tightly connecting with Xiao Chen's consciousness. In an instant, Xiao Chen felt as though he could feel the breathing and pulse of the tiger paw grass. This was a very strange feeling. Xiao Chen was incomparably surprised. This was the so-called spiritual sense. With such a close mental connection, the herb was like an organ in his body. Under such a state, his understanding and control of the herb would definitely improve. When refining pills, he would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. No wonder to become a good alchemist, one must have a spiritual sense. Xiao Chen withdrew his consciousness, and a faint green energy returned to the meridians in his body from his palm. It flowed through the meridians in his arm, and finally rushed into Xiao Chen's mind. After the faint green energy spun a few times, it formed a green dot and merged with Xiao Chen's consciousness. He was a little suspicious about what the green dot in his mind was. However, this was not the time to think about it. With his rough understanding of alchemists in this world, he would not be able to figure it out in a short amount of time. Tossing aside the doubts in his heart, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and looked at the tiger paw grass in his hand once again. This time, he had a much more thorough understanding of the tiger paw grass. Its roots also had quite a lot of medicinal properties. It was not like what was written in the book where only the leaves were useful. With this level of understanding, he was even more confident in refining the next pill. Taking out the blue dragon medicine cauldron, Xiaochen called out the purple thunder true fire and began his first attempt at refining pills, refining the fasting pill. In the compendium of cultivation, the fasting pill was an extremely low-ranked pill in the cultivation world. Only a few cultivators who had not reached the stage of fasting realm would need to consume it. It was very suitable for starting out. After tossing the tiger paw grass into the purple thunder true fire, Xiaochen carefully calcined it. He controlled the strength of the purple thunder true fire, not daring to be careless. The 4 green leaves quickly melted into 4 drops of clear green liquid. The green liquid bubbled continuously in the purple fire. Xiaochen took out a porcelain bottle that he had prepared in advance. With a flick of his finger, the 4 drops of green liquid were poured into the bottle. Then, he looked at the roots that had not melted yet. If he did not have a spiritual sense, Xiaochen would have definitely discarded the roots. However, now that he knew that the roots still had medicinal properties, Xiaochen naturally would not waste it. The roots were harder than the leaves, so the temperature of the flames should be higher as well. Xiaochen slowly increased the strength of the purple thunder true fire. This kind of fine control over the flames might seem simple, but it was actually very tiring. Furthermore, it tested one's control over the flames. If he used too little strength, he would not be able to calcine the medicinal liquid. If he used too much strength, the medicinal liquid would evaporate. Only when he reached that point could he successfully extract the medicinal liquid. Fortunately, the compendium of cultivation had a detailed explanation of this. If he was careful, it would not be difficult to do so. After extracting 5 drops of green medicinal liquid from the roots, there was some residue on the table once again. Xiaochen took out another 5 stalks of tiger paw grass to temper them. After that, he was not as lucky as he was the first time. Even though he knew how much strength to use when and how much strength to use, Xiaochen still damaged 2 stalks of tiger paw grass. Fortunately, Xiaochen had already anticipated this situation. He told Bao to buy twice the amount of medicinal herbs. Only after calcining a total of 50 drops of medicinal liquid from the tiger paw grass did Xiaochen stop. Chapter 25. Extracting a sufficient amount of the tiger paw grass's medicinal liquid was only the first step of refining the fasting pill. Next, he still had to condense the medicinal liquid of 3 different herbs. After resting for a while, Xiaochen took out a saffron and held it in his hand. He tried to use his spiritual sense to establish a mental connection with the saffron. With a thought, the green dot hidden in his sea of consciousness became like a small stream. It formed a jade-green line and instantly flowed out of his body through the meridians in his arm. A green line that was invisible to the naked eye connected to the bright saffron. Immediately, a bright red space appeared in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness. It was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. This time, Xiaochen had a deeper understanding of the internal space of the herb. Those flowing red lines should be the medicinal properties contained in the saffron. They would eventually flow to the node, which was also the place where the saffron had the most medicinal properties. Other places could be ignored when calcined. After a while, Xiaochen opened his eyes and got rid of this strange state. After establishing a mental connection with the herb again, Xiaochen had a vague understanding of the green dot in his sea of consciousness. This green dot could be a spirit core formed after his spiritual sense awakened. However, he did not know what kind of aptitude the pea-sized spirit core in his sea of consciousness was. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaochen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation again and summoned out the purple thunder true fire. He started to condense the medicinal liquid of the saffron. He condensed 50 drops of red medicinal liquid. Following that, he condensed the medicinal liquid of the octagonal lotus and the spearmint. Looking at the 4 porcelain bottles on the table, Xiaochen heaved a sigh of relief. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. The first step of refining the fasting pill was finally completed. He had actually exhausted half of the essence in his body. The second step, condensing the pill, required a large amount of essence. If he did not have enough essence, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Xiao Qin could only temporarily give up on the second step. He sat cross-legged and circulated his essence to slowly recover the exhausted essence. Essence. Yuan Qi. At this moment, Xiao Chen's desire for essence qi became incomparably realistic. If he had sufficient essence qi, this kind of trouble would not have appeared at all. And this was only concocting the most basic of pills. If he were to concoct a higher grade medicine, without the support of essence qi, he might not even be able to persist through the first step. Half an hour later, Xiao Qin stopped cultivating. The essence in his body had reached its peak state. It was enough for him to carry out the second step of refining the medicine. Picking up the blue dragon medicine cauldron, Xiao Qin called out the purple thunder true fire. He sent the flame on his palm into the blue dragon medicine cauldron's entrance. The purple flame burned fiercely in the cauldron. Xiao Qin first poured the tiger paw grass's medicinal liquid into the cauldron. Under the heat of the purple thunder true fire, the viscous medicinal liquid churned continuously, giving off a zzz sound. A faint fragrance came from the cauldron. Xiao Qin counted the time in his heart. After a minute, he poured the second medicinal liquid into the cauldron. 4 minutes later, all the medicinal liquids in the 4 porcelain bottles were poured into the cauldron. Xiao Qin covered the cauldron and did his best to burn the purple thunder true fire in the cauldron. An invisible thread connected the purple thunder true fire in the cauldron. The essence in Xiao Chen's body flowed continuously through this thread and into the purple thunder true fire in the cauldron. This was the disadvantage of not having a spiritual sense. If Xiao Qin cultivated the purple thunder divine incantation to the second layer and cultivated a spiritual sense, he would be able to directly control the intensity of the purple thunder true fire through his spiritual sense. He would not need to exhaust so much essence like he did now. Within the blue dragon medicine cauldron, the 4 colored medicinal liquids churned continuously. In the end, they slowly mixed together, forming a viscous liquid that revolved continuously. At this moment, the medicinal fragrance in the room became even denser. Xiao Qin, who did not have a spiritual sense, was unable to see the situation within the cauldron. He could only judge from the fragrance coming from the cauldron that the 4 medicinal liquids had already merged together. At this moment, he could not use a fierce flame to burn the medicinal liquid. He had to follow the direction of the medicinal liquid and control the purple thunder true fire to surround the medicinal liquid from afar. Then, he had to slowly revolve it around the medicinal liquid. The temperature of the flame had to decrease as well. Sweat continuously appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead. This step consumed more essence than using a fierce flame to burn the medicinal liquid. Every time the flame revolved, Xiao Qin felt the essence in his body decrease by a large amount. If he was not careful and his essence dried up, then all his previous efforts would be for naught. When the medicinal fragrance in the room changed again, Xiao Qin finally heaved a sigh of relief. He still had about 10% of essence left in his body. The situation of essence drying up that he was most worried about did not occur. This amount of essence was sufficient for him to carry on with the last step of refining the pill. The chaotic medicinal liquid within the cauldron had already condensed into a coarse spherical pill embryo under the slow calcination of the warm fire. A faint fragrance wafted out from the cauldron lid. As long as the final step was completed, the pill of fasting would be complete. Xiao Qin opened the lid of the cauldron and an even denser fragrance assaulted his nose. Looking at the coarse pill embryo in the cauldron, Xiao Qin felt extremely gratified. It was his first time refining a pill, yet he was able to reach this stage without making any major mistakes. This was already very gratifying. If he could complete the last step perfectly, then it would be even more satisfying. Xiao Chen's eyes blazed with passion, but his state of mind was extremely calm. This last step was also the most important step, he could not afford to make any mistakes. Xiao Qin controlled the purple thunder true fire to slowly rise up. The coarse pill embryo also followed the purple flames and rose into the air. Xiao Chen stretched out his right hand and the pill embryo slowly descended onto his palm along with the purple flames. It's time to shape it. Concentrating and guarding his qi, Xiao Chen's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. This was a situation that would only occur when one was in a highly concentrated state. Hu qi. The pill embryo spun rapidly in the flame. Xiao Chen did not dare to breathe too loudly. Sweat poured down his forehead continuously. The uneven pill embryo slowly started to round up, and a faint luster appeared on the pill. Only at this moment could this fasting pill be considered a true pill. Xiao Chen pressed his palm down and placed the pill back into the medicine cauldron. Then, he covered the cauldron and started the final heating process. At this moment, Xiao Chen did not dare to relax at all. Until the medicinal pill came out of the cauldron, it could not be considered a success. However, there was no longer much risk. All he needed to do was wait for a while and the fasting pill would be done. Second young master, supper is ready. Do you want to eat? Bang! Just at this moment, Bao'er's voice suddenly rang out. This caused Xiao Chen's state of concentration to become chaotic. In the instant he was distracted, he did not control the flame in the cauldron properly. The pill that was about to be completed shattered into pieces. The other dragon head of the blue dragon medicine cauldron slowly released the dregs of the pill. Damn! What are you doing here? Xiao Chen shouted angrily at Bao who had appeared outside the door. After so much effort, he had finally reached the final moment of the pill's formation. However, it was destroyed just like that. Xiao Chen's mood was extremely terrible. His head was covered in sweat and his expression was filled with resentment. It made Xiao Chen's expression look extremely horrifying. Outside the door, Bao looked at Xiao Chen who was shouting at her angrily. Then, she looked at the situation on the table. She knew that she had caused a huge disaster. Her face was pale with fright. Her hands, which were holding the supper, trembled uncontrollably. Tears flowed out of her eyes uncontrollably. She said fearfully, "Second young master, I didn't do it on purpose." The essence in his body was exhausted. His mind was also extremely weak. Xiao Chen waved his hand impatiently. "Go out. There is nothing for you to do here." After a long time, Xiao Chen recovered some of his strength. He felt regret in his heart. What's wrong with me? A failed refinement of a pill caused me to lose my temper at a little girl. Do I really think of myself as a young master? With such little strength and status, my temper is already so bad. Then, what is the difference between me and those profligate scions of the Zhang clan? It is just a failed refinement of a pill. If the first attempt is unsuccessful, I can just try again. What is the point of venting my anger on a little girl? The more Xiao Chen thought about it, the more he felt that he had done wrong. He got up and walked to Bao'er's room. The light in Bao'er's room was still on. Xiao Chen, who was standing in front of the door, could hear soft sobbing coming from inside. Creak. Xiao Chen pushed the door gently. Perhaps it was because he had returned in a hurry, Bao'er's door was not bolted. Xiao Chen pushed it open gently. When Bao who was sitting by the bed, saw Xiao Chen push the door open and enter, she quickly wiped the tears from her eyes. She said with a trembling voice, "Second young master, why are you here? Earlier, I really did not do it on purpose." Xiao Chen, you are such an innocent sister-in-law. You scared others to this extent. You are really not a good person. Xiao Chen cursed himself in his heart. On the way here, he thought of apologizing. However, when he was about to say it, he was too embarrassed to say it. Xiao Chen looked at the supper on the table. It was a bowl of squid porridge. He said, I am here to eat supper. Also, I want to see you." After Xiao Chen said that, he picked up the bowl of squid porridge on the table and started eating. It tasted pretty good. Normally, the kitchen would not provide supper at this time. Bao must have made it herself. It is very delicious. Did you make it yourself? Yes, I am very good at it. I learned it from my mother when I was young, Bao replied in a low voice. Seeing that Xiaochen seemed to be enjoying the porridge, Bao asked carefully, "Second young master, are you still angry at me?" Yes. Xiaochen placed the bowl on the table heavily. His expression was extremely serious. Bao's heart, which had been hanging in suspense, started thumping again. I was just teasing you. Ha, I am angry that you made too little squid porridge tonight. As a punishment, you must make another bowl tomorrow. Xiaochen suddenly smiled. Bao's tear-stained face revealed a joyful smile. She said in disbelief, "Really?" Xiaochen got up and walked over to Bao. He wiped away the remaining tears on her face and said sincerely, "Really, the squid porridge you made was very delicious. I should not have lost my temper at you. Don't think too much. Have a good sleep." Chapter 26. Within a secret room of the Shao clan, two people dressed in embroidered robes were looking at a corpse on the ground. If Xiaochen was here, he would definitely be shocked. The corpse on the ground was the first elder of the Zhang clan, who had died in the Thunder King's cave. These two people held absolute authority in the Shao clan. One of them was the first elder of the Shao clan, Shao Chang, and the other was the Shao clan head, Shao Xiong, who had not shown himself for a long time. Shao Xiong squatted down and casually flipped through the corpse on the ground. "When did you find him?" The corpse had already decomposed for a period of time, and there was a faint corpse smell in the air. Shao Chang wrinkled his nose and said, 10 days ago, when the guards on the mountain were patrolling, they accidentally discovered you. You were in closed-door training, so it was not convenient for me to bring the corpse over." After pausing for a while, Shao Chang continued, "This fellow died from the poison of poinsettia. After that, I asked Yulan, and it was indeed done by her. She also told me about what happened back then." Shao Chang stood up and listened carefully to Shao Chang's narration. When he heard about the mysterious blue-clothed martial saint, his expression changed slightly, but it was gone in an instant. After he finished listening, he had a teasing expression on his face as he said, "This old fellow has always been against us. This time, he died in the hands of a martial master junior. I wonder how he feels." Shao Chang smiled embarrassedly and did not reply to Shao Xiong's words. He said worriedly, "That mysterious martial saint suddenly came to Mo City, are you not worried at all?" Shao Xiong's face revealed a bitter smile. Ever since the Shao clan settled down in this small Mo city, they did not live for another day. The seniors of the Shao clan all thought that they had profited, so what's the point of me worrying? These jumping clowns, if they want to do anything to my Shao clan, as long as I, Shao Xiong, still have a breath left in me, even if I turn into ashes, I will take a bite out of them. Shao Xiong changed the topic and a resolute gaze appeared in his eyes, leaving no room for doubt. Shao Chang naturally understood the meaning behind Shao Xiong's words. From the first day he became the first elder, he already knew how strong the enemies of the Shao clan were. It was not easy for the Shao clan to survive until now. Compared to them, the enemies in front of him were not even worth mentioning. According to Yulan's description, this person in blue should have a rock martial spirit. In Cheesy County, there is only one martial saint with a rock martial spirit, the third elder of the Leng clan of Azure River City. The Leng clan was the undisputed top clan of Cheesy County. In the past few years, with the support of the Misty Sword sect, they had expanded their influence very quickly. They had already extended their influence to Blackwater City, which was close to Mo City. It made perfect sense for them to join forces with the Zhang clan to deal with the Shao clan. Shao Xiong did not seem to be interested in this news. His expression did not change as he said, "They only want my Shao clan's Seven-Horn Mountain." The promise of 10 years was set by the city lord of Mo City. Even if the Leng clan has the support of the Misty Sword sect, they would not dare to be forceful. "How is the investigation I asked you to do during the day?" Second young master's martial spirit is indeed an extremely demonic purple flame. Furthermore, it is rather tyrannical. Although he had some doubts as to why Xiao Xiong was so concerned about Xiao Chen's martial spirit, Xiao Chang still answered truthfully. A relaxed expression appeared on Xiao Xiong's face as he said, "Then, did he agree to participate in the promise of 10 years? Hearing Xiao Xiong ask this question, Xiao Chang's tense face revealed a relaxed smile as he said, "He agreed. This brat is very crafty, he even extorted a spirit weapon from me." At this moment, Xiao Chen, who was still in Bao'er's room, naturally did not know that the two people with the most authority in the Xiao clan were discussing his matters in a certain secret room. After leaving Bao'er's room, Xiao Chen calmed his emotions and started to refine the fasting pill for the second time. With the previous experience, Xiao Chen was even more proficient in refining it. Without any mishaps, after 2 hours, the fasting pill was successfully molded. Xiao Chen then placed the pill into the blue dragon medicine cauldron. After 10 minutes of nourishing, Xiao Chen stopped the purple thunder true fire. Ka! A medicinal pill brimming with luster came out of the other dragon head and fell into the medicine cauldron that Xiao Chen had prepared long ago. Wiping the sweat off his forehead, Xiao Chen revealed a gratified smile. He had finally succeeded in refining the fasting pill. However, this was just the beginning. Although the fasting pill was miraculous, it did not have any substantial effect on cultivation. It was only used to increase his proficiency in alchemy. The essence nurturing pill and qi returning pill that he was going to refine next were the pills that he wanted the most. After consuming the qi returning pill, it could quickly recover the exhausted spiritual energy of a cultivator. Its effects were similar to the essence returning pill of the Tianwu continent. As long as it was a cultivator, there would be situations where their essence would be exhausted or depleted. If there was a pill that could quickly recover essence, it would be of great help regardless of whether it was refining alchemy or fighting. The remaining essence nurturing pill was used to increase the cultivation speed of low-ranked cultivators. This was a necessity for Xiao Chen to quickly advance to the second layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. In the Tianwu continent, alchemists below grade 5 would not be able to refine such a pill. If Xiao Chen did not have the compendium of cultivation, the formulas and refining methods in it would be different from this world's. With his current cultivation, he would not be able to refine such a pill. However, Xiao Chen was not in a rush to refine these two pills. Instead, he continued to refine the fasting pill. These two pills were of the same grade as the fasting pill in the compendium of cultivation. However, the difficulty of refining them was much higher. If he tried to refine them rashly, the chances of failure would be very high. Furthermore, Xiao Chen only got Bao'er to buy one set of the ingredients for these two pills. The reason was simple: he did not have money. That's right, he did not have money. The amount of money that Xiao Chen received from the Xiao clan every month was only 1,000 silver taels. This amount of money was more than enough to buy the ingredients for the fasting pill. However, if he wanted to buy the ingredients for the essence nurturing pill and the qi returning pill in bulk, it would be a little too much. If he included the chances of failure, he would need even more money. As for the matter of money, Xiao Chen had already thought of a way to deal with it. There was no need to worry too much. His gaze was fixed on the fasting pill in the jade bottle. The most important thing now was to increase his proficiency in refining alchemy. Taking out the ingredients for the fasting pill, Xiao Chen began to refine the fasting pill tirelessly. Time passed unknowingly. Only when his mental energy was completely exhausted did Xiao Chen stop refining. Looking at the jade bottle that was already filled to the brim with fasting pills, Xiao Chen revealed a satisfied smile. This bottle contained a total of 20 fasting pills. As he continued to familiarize himself with the process, his refining speed became faster and faster. He only failed once due to a mistake. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, he guarded his dantian with qi and circulated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Xiao Chen began to slowly recover his exhausted essence. Strands of essence slowly flowed into his body in the room filled with a medicinal fragrance. Finally, it gathered in the 3 white clouds beside the blue dragon martial spirit under his dantian. There was no concept of time during cultivation. When Xiaochen opened his eyes again, the sky was already bright. He stretched his body, the bones in his entire body gave off a series of crisp sounds. His entire body felt incomparably comfortable, the fatigue from the previous night had been swept away. "Young master, can I come in? I have brought the water to wash your face." Bao'er's voice came from outside the door. Xiaochen quickly got up to open the door. Seeing Bao'er's smiling face, Xiaochen relaxed. It seemed like Bao'er had already forgiven him for yesterday's matter. "Ai. It smells so good. This is young master's room." Xiaochen had refined a large number of fasting pills the previous night. The dense medicinal fragrance had not completely dissipated even after a night. The fragrance that assaulted his senses made Bao'er feel energized, and her mood improved significantly. Bao'er already knew that he knew how to refine pills last night. Even if he wanted to hide it now, he might as well tell her. "Last night, I refined some pills here, so it smelled very good. I don't want others to know that I know how to refine pills for now. Bao'er, can you help me keep this a secret?" Although the matter of refining pills was not a big deal, if others knew about it, it would still cause some unnecessary trouble. If he wanted to keep this a secret, he could only hope that Bao'er could be trusted. After all, when facing a 14 or 15-year-old girl, Xiaochen could not possibly silence her by killing her. Bao'er nodded her head seriously. "Second young master, don't worry. Bao'er will not tell anyone." "Young master, you have not washed your face, right? Bao'er will help you wash your face." After Bao'er finished speaking, she naturally picked up the wet towel and moved it towards Xiaochen's face. However, because of his cultivation, Xiaochen was much taller than Bao'er. When Bao'er reached out, she had to tiptoe a little. Seeing Bao'er like this, Xiaochen did not know whether to laugh or cry. He grabbed Bao'er's wrist and took the towel. He smiled and said, "Young master has hands and feet. I can still do this. Don't do this in the future." Bao'er, whose wrist was grabbed, blushed slightly. She whispered, "Then what can Bao'er do?" Seeing Bao'er murmuring in a low voice and looking very cute, Xiaochen felt a ripple in his heart. He had an urge to take a bite out of her. Xiaochen shook his head violently before he recollected his thoughts. He looked at the messy bed and said, "Help me fold the blanket. Later, you can clean the room." Bao'er gave a sound of acknowledgement and ran over happily. As long as there was something to do, she would be very happy. After washing his face, Xiaochen placed the jade bottle filled with fasting pills into his bosom. He said to Bao'er, "I will be going into the city later. After you are done with this, you can do something that you like. There is no need to stay here." "Oh." Bao'er replied helplessly. Before she came, she was afraid that Xiaochen would ask her to do something embarrassing. Now that she looked at it, it seemed that Xiaochen was not that kind of person. She felt like she had nothing to do. After leaving the Shao residence, Xiaochen found a desolate place. He changed into a large black cloak and covered his entire body in the shadows. Then, he rushed towards Mo City. Chapter 27. The 3 great clans of Mo City, the Shao clan, the Zhang clan, and the Tang clan, each of them had a large amount of real estate and shops in the city. However, the most profitable place in the city was the auction house. This was all because of the name of this auction house, Linlang Pavilion. Linlang Pavilion was the largest auction house in the Great Qin Empire. It had branches in all of the 36 counties of the empire, and the master behind it was the emperor's son-in-law, Nangong Lai. He was a relative of the emperor, in addition to the huge power of the Nangong clan. With such a background, naturally no one would dare to offend him. Perhaps in some of the larger prefectures or imperial capitals, there would be powers that could compete with the Nangong clan and dare to open a second or third auction house. However, in this small Mo city, there was no one who would dare to take advantage of them and open a second auction house. Lin Lang Pavilion was the destination of Xiao Chen's trip. He could not expose his identity as an alchemist and go to the Xiao clan to get money. Furthermore, he could not sell the moonstones in his room. If he wanted to earn money quickly, he could only rely on the fasting pills he refined last night. Tidying up the cloak on his body and looking at the beautiful signboard of Lin Lang Pavilion, Xiao Chen revealed a smile under the shadows as he slowly walked into Lin Lang Pavilion. Due to the lack of human traffic, the Lin Lang Pavilion in Mo City would only hold a small-scale auction every month. Every 3 months, they would hold a medium-sized auction. The large-scale auction would only be held once a year. At that time, it would be the busiest time in Mo City. Counting the days, it was almost the end of the month. There were many people in the hall on the first floor who came to look at the goods. These people were undoubtedly people with high statuses in Mo City. Among them, the 3 great clans had the most people. Xiao Chen even saw many familiar people from the Xiao clan, but this was not the time to greet them. Suddenly, a dangerous aura came from behind him, followed by a palm that was about to reach down. Xiao Chen's sharp senses felt this aura, and his body flashed forward, turning around to make a move. Pu Qi. Xiao Chen clasped the man's wrist. Xiao Chen exerted a little force on the man's wrist. The man immediately showed a painful expression and shouted with a stern look, "Bastard, let me go." This person was dressed in a blue and white robe and looked to be around 27 or 28 years old. His cultivation was in the medial grade martial disciple realm. There was a yellow flower embroidered on his collar. Xiao Chen understood that this person should be a guard of Lin Lang Pavilion. However, he had no intention of letting go. He increased the strength in his hand and asked coldly, "Why did you attack me?" That person cried out in pain again and cursed, "Bastard, hurry up and let go. Otherwise, don't even think of walking out of this Lin Lang Pavilion." The voices of the 2 quickly attracted the attention of the surrounding people. They looked at Xiao Chen mockingly. Xiao Chen's cultivation was only at the inferior grade martial disciple realm, yet these people actually dared to come to Lin Lang Pavilion to cause trouble. They were simply courting death. Very quickly, a large group of cultivators dressed in blue and white robes with a yellow flower embroidered on their collars ran over. Under the lead of a martial master, they surrounded Xiao Chen. That martial master had thick eyebrows and big eyes. He was tall and sturdy, but the expression on his face was very cautious. He did not seem angry or irritable. He frowned slightly and glanced at Xiao Chen before shifting his gaze to the person that Xiao Chen was holding. He asked in a cold voice, "Gao Long, what's going on?" Gao Long, whose wrist was being held by Xiao Chen, had a pained expression on his face. From Xiao Chen's hand, electric currents flowed continuously into his body. Every time the essence that he gathered with great difficulty came into contact with this electric current, it would immediately dissipate without a trace. This caused him to be unable to break free from Xiao Chen's grasp. "Captain, this person is dressed strangely." After he entered the hall, he looked around shiftily. "I'm afraid he has some ulterior motive, so I want to capture him and question him," Gao Long said with a trembling voice. He, a medial grade martial disciple, was being held down by an inferior grade martial disciple. Even if he was in the right this time, he had lost the face of Lin Lang Pavilion. He would definitely not be able to escape the captain's punishment. When he thought of the captain's punishment, Gao Long could not help but tremble. When the superior grade martial disciple, who was addressed as the captain, saw Xiao Chen's attire, he also had some doubts in his heart. Of the people who came here, which one of them did not wear bright and beautiful clothes? Who would dress so strangely like Xiao Chen? A cloak covered his entire body, making him look like he had some ulterior motive. "This friend, I am Jiang Qi, the commander of the guards on the first floor of Lin Lang Pavilion. I wonder why you are here. Are you here to buy something?" Although he already had a fixed impression of Xiao Chen, Jiang Qi still asked cautiously. No. The shadow of the cloak covered Xiao Chen's face, making it impossible to see his expression. When Gao Long, who was being held down, heard this, he had an expression of joy on his face. If he is not here to buy something, then naturally he is here to cause trouble. Since he is here to cause trouble, this brat will not be able to leave. He smiled sinisterly in his heart, and the pain in his hand seemed to lessen. In that case, do you have any friends here? Jiang Qi continued to ask patiently. However, the killing qi that he had been hiding was released without restraint. As long as Xiao Chen denied it again, he would immediately make a move. No matter who it was, whoever caused trouble in Linlang Pavilion would only have one outcome, death. Jiang Qi's aura of a superior-grade martial master spread out into the surroundings. The killing qi enveloped Xiao Chen firmly. The biting cold killing qi caused the surrounding people to tremble. When these people looked at Xiao Chen again, it was as if he was already a dead man. The killing qi was so dense that even the surrounding people could feel it. Actually, this was because one's cultivation realm was not high enough, it was condensed and not solid. A true expert's killing qi could gather into a network of lines and not scatter. When it completely enveloped the target, the surrounding people would not be able to feel it at all. Xiao Chen, who was surrounded by the killing qi, did not show any fear. He said indifferently, I do not have any friends here. Jiang Qi smiled coldly, then I will have to offend you. Who? The surrounding air suddenly turned cold. A cold qi gathered on his body, and a layer of ice wrapped around his fist. With a whistling sound, he punched towards Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen took a step back and spun Gao Long's body in the air before tossing him violently at Jiang Qi. After that, he took out the jade bottle containing the fasting pill unhurriedly and gently opened the bottle cap. A dense medicinal fragrance spread into the surroundings. Soon, the entire hall on the first floor was filled with this medicinal fragrance. What pill is this? Why is it so fragrant? Could this fellow be an alchemist? I think so. The actions of those alchemists are all very strange. Otherwise, he would not be so calm. There were sounds of discussion coming from the hall. These people were people with some status who had come into contact with pills before. However, they had never seen a pill with such a dense fragrance before. For a moment, they thought that Xiao Chen was a mysterious alchemist of a very high rank. Under the cloak, the corners of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up slightly. He smiled and said, in such a big place like Linlang Pavilion, there is not even a person to discuss business with. Jiang Qi, who had just caught Gao Long, had casually tossed him to the ground. When he heard what Xiao Chen said and saw the pill in Xiao Chen's hand, he knew that he might have gotten into trouble. He hurriedly went forward and cupped his hands, Senior, sorry for my rudeness. I hope Senior can forgive me. Although Xiao Chen was only an inferior-grade martial disciple, if he could refine a high-rank pill, it was natural for him to address him as Senior. Gao Long, who was lying on the ground, gritted his teeth and cried out in pain. When Xiao Chen had thrown him to Jiang Qi, he had used a lot of force. Furthermore, Jiang Qi had thrown him casually. Currently, there was not a single part of his body that did not hurt. When Gao Long heard Jiang Qi's words, he felt like he had fallen into an ice cave. What kind of bad luck did I have today? I actually offended an alchemist, thinking that he was a sneaky thief. Xiao Chen did not care about the change in Jiang Qi's attitude. This was all within his expectations, so there was nothing strange about it. He continued, cut the crap. Bring me to your appraiser. I want to auction off this pill at the end of the month. Jiang Qi cupped his hands and thanked him again. He led Xiao Chen to the inner pavilion. Along the way, he tried to find out about Xiao Chen's origins by beating around the bush. Naturally, Xiao Chen would not fall for such tricks. Thus, he gave a bunch of half-truths and half-lies. Everyone watched as Xiao Chen left. After a long time, a commotion broke out in the quiet hall on the first floor. The sounds of discussion rose and fell. This alchemist is actually here to bid. Old Chen, when was the last time Lin Lang Pavilion auctioned a pill? Do you remember? In the large-scale auction held last year, there was a rank 3 pill. I think this year's large-scale auction might be brought forward. The pill that the mysterious person brought is definitely rank 3 and above. Nonsense, how could a rank 3 pill have such a strong medicinal fragrance? I have seen a rank 4 pill before, but it did not have such a strong medicinal fragrance. Someone beside that person immediately retorted. How is that possible? To be able to refine a rank 4 pill, it has to be at least a rank 4 alchemist. There are only a few rank 4 alchemists in the entire Luojia prefecture. Why would he come to our small Mo city? In an instant, an intense debate broke out in the hall regarding the rank of this mysterious pill. At this moment, in the inner pavilion, the pill appraiser, Old Hu, was sweating profusely. He was thinking hard about the rank of this pill. Fasting pill. After consuming it, one would not need to eat for a month. What kind of pill was this? It was unheard of in the great Qin nation. The appraisers of Glittering Jewels Pavilion naturally had good foresight. These appraisers were all nurtured by Glittering Jewels Pavilion themselves. After going through layers of tests, they would be sent down. The appraisers of Glittering Jewels Pavilion all started from the lowest level and then moved up based on their results. Thus, even if it was the appraisers of Mo City, if they were placed in any other auction house, they would be able to hold their own in any auction house at the level of a prefecture city. Old Hu carefully looked at the pill in his hand. He was sure that this pill was not something that could fool people. Regardless of whether it was the pill's fragrance, glossiness, or color, it was not something that an ordinary person could refine. However, he had never heard of a pill called the fasting pill in this world. How was he going to set the price? He was extremely vexed. Xiao Chen sat on the chair and gently took a sip of the tea at the side. He looked at Old Hu, who was still trying to figure it out, and said impatiently, Old Hu, after studying it for so long, can you start bidding now? Old Hu wiped the sweat off his forehead. In the end, he still decided to play it safe. He said apologetically, please wait for a moment. I am unable to appraise this pill. I will go and invite the pavilion master over. Xiao Chen put down his teacup and made a gesture to invite him to do as he pleased. He was quite confident that Lin Lang would be able to appraise the fasting pill. Chapter 28. After Old Hu took his leave, he quickly made his way to the 4th floor of Lin Lang Pavilion. When he arrived at the pavilion master's room, he discovered that the door was tightly shut and there were 2 guards standing in front of it. The pavilion master's room was usually open. In such a situation, there should be an esteemed guest and it would be inconvenient to disturb him. However, this matter was urgent. If word got out that Lin Lang Pavilion could not even appraise a single pill, it would be detrimental to Lin Lang Pavilion's reputation. Brothers, if I want to enter the pavilion master, can you inform him? Old Hu asked in a deep voice. Naturally, the guards outside recognized Old Hu. However, the pavilion master had instructed them not to let anyone disturb him. They were put in a difficult position and said, Old Hu, the pavilion master is meeting with an esteemed guest and instructed us not to disturb him. As expected, Old Hu was somewhat disappointed. Then, he remembered Xiao Chen's impatient appearance. If he waited any longer, he might leave. He immediately said anxiously, I am indeed looking for the pavilion master for a very important matter. Would you 2 brothers please help me? If anything happens, I will take full responsibility. The bodyguards guarding outside the door were in a dilemma for a moment. The status of the appraisers in Lin Lang Pavilion was extremely high. Even the pavilion head was very respectful to these appraisers. The status of the 2 small bodyguards was far lower than that of Mr. Hu. If something serious really happened, they might be implicated. But the pavilion head had indeed specially instructed in advance that no one could disturb them. Seeing the two of them still hesitating, Old Hu hardened his heart and said coldly, "This matter is very important. If the two of you ruin it, don't blame me for reminding you." Hearing these words, the two guards finally chose to compromise and let Old Hu in. "Old Hu, we have to say this first. If the pavilion master blames us, you will have to take full responsibility." Old Hu nodded and immediately walked in impatiently. In the reception room, the pavilion master was in a very good mood. He smiled at the girl dressed in men's clothing. "Fei Xue, you have been here for a few days already. You only thought of coming to Uncle Nangong's place today. This is not right." Feng Fei Xue, who was dressed in men's clothing, smiled gently and said, "Uncle Yan, aren't I here now?" He pointed to the tea leaves on the table and said, "I know you like this Junshan silver needle tea, so I bought half of the stock from Wenshuan Tea House in the capital." When Nangong Yan heard this, he laughed loudly. It was obvious that he did not mind that Feng Fei Xue had come to see him a few days late. He said, "I have not seen you for 6 years. Now, you have become so beautiful. Those young masters in the imperial capital must be circling around you." When Feng Fei Xue heard this, she blushed slightly. She smiled and said, "Uncle Yan, stop teasing Fei Xue." Nangong Yan seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "I forgot that you are already engaged. I don't know what the character of that brat from the Bai clan is like. When I have time, I will help you take a look. If it is not good, I will help you to annul this engagement." A trace of warmth flowed in Feng Fei Xue's heart. She believed that as long as the old man in front of her said it, he would definitely be able to do it. This old man had always treated her like a granddaughter. Just at this moment, the sound of Hu Lao's footsteps could be heard. Nangong Yan's expression changed and he felt somewhat annoyed. He had already instructed not to let outsiders in, why was there still someone who dared to disturb him? Hu Lao looked at the atmosphere in the hall and then looked at Nangong Yan's expression. He knew that Nangong Yan was waiting for an explanation. If there was no suitable explanation, he would probably be in trouble. After all, the status of the pavilion master in front of him was different from the other pavilion masters. He did not need to care about the rules at all. After bowing, Hu Lao said apologetically, "Pavilion master, I am sorry. This matter concerns the reputation of Linlang Pavilion, so I had no choice but to disturb you." Glancing at Feng Fei Xue at the side, Hu Lao did not continue speaking. Nangong Yan understood what he meant and said, "Speak, there are no outsiders here." Hu Lao nodded his head and took out a jade bottle with a fasting pill inside. He handed it to Nangong Yan and said, "Today, a mysterious alchemist came. He brought a type of pill to be auctioned. This old man is incompetent and cannot tell what rank this pill is." Nangong Yan received the jade bottle and was startled. He was very clear about Hu Lao's ability to appraise pills. In terms of theoretical knowledge, Hu Lao was not inferior to Nangong Yan. To think that there was actually a pill that he was unable to appraise. What pill was this exactly? Nangong Yan gently poured out the fasting pill and brought it before his eyes to take a closer look. The fragrance that the pill emitted in front of him fiercely entered Nangong Yan's nose. "What a fragrant pill," Nangong Yan praised in his heart. In the boundless spiritual world in his mind, a green spirit core spun non-stop. The entire spiritual space was filled with boundless green ripples. A few green energy lines that were invisible to the naked eye shot out from Nangong Yan's mind and entered the fasting pill. In an instant, a fog appeared in front of Nangong Yan's spiritual sense, blocking his vision. The fog in the space became denser and denser. Nangong Yan turned pale with fright. He had never encountered such a situation before. If he did not retreat now, he might not be able to come out. Nangong Yan withdrew his spiritual sense with lingering fear. Looking at the patterns and luster of the pill, his expression became more and more serious. He was one of the few people who stood at the peak of alchemy in the great Qin nation. With just a glance, he would be able to tell the quality of the alchemist and the refining method of the alchemist. However, the pill in front of him was actually able to prevent his spiritual sense from entering the core of the pill. He was sure that the refining method used by this alchemist was definitely not the mainstream refining method of the continent. It was very likely that it was an ancient refining technique that had been lost a long time ago. Thinking of this, Nangong Yan's mood became fiery. He had been stuck at the peak of a rank 7 alchemist for many years and had been lacking an opportunity to advance. This might be an opportunity. Outsiders only knew that a rank 7 alchemist was the peak of alchemy. However, he was very clear that a rank 7 alchemist was definitely not the peak of alchemy. He had personally seen alchemists of that level before. The difference between the two could be said to be like the difference between heaven and earth. It was not an exaggeration. Did that person say what pill it was? Nangong Yan asked after he calmed down. Seeing Nangong Yan's tone, Hu Lao's worried heart finally relaxed. This pill did indeed have the value of disturbing the pavilion master. He nodded his head and said, he said it was a fasting pill. After consuming it, one would not need to eat for half a month. This old man has never heard of such a pill before, so I did not know how to price it. Fasting pill. Hearing this miraculous effect, Nangong Yan was stunned for a moment before he laughed loudly. There is no mistake. Old Hu, I will remember your contribution this time. After this month's auction, I will immediately transfer you to the Linlang Pavilion in the prefecture's capital. Hu Lao was overjoyed and quickly thanked him. Transferring from Mohe City to the prefecture's capital was a direct promotion of 3 ranks. He originally thought that he would never be able to reach such a height in his lifetime. He did not expect that he would be able to achieve it today. Feng Feishue, who was at the side, did not understand either. Although this pill was miraculous, it did not seem to have much effect on cultivators. Why did Uncle Yen place so much importance on it? Nangong Yan looked at Feng Feishue and smiled. Last Feng, accompany me to take a look at this senior. Let's see if you can come across any good fortune. This was exactly what Feng Feishue wanted. She was somewhat curious about this alchemist who refined this miraculous pill. She immediately followed Hu Lao to the inner pavilion. Not long later, the two of them followed Hu Lao to the entrance of the inner pavilion. Nangong Yan's gaze looked straight at Xiao Chen. After a while, he felt some disappointment in his heart as he shook his head. With just one look, he was able to tell Xiao Chen's strength. The energy contained in the spiritual core was extremely weak. This was just an alchemist who had grasped his spiritual sense not too long ago. Xiao Chen felt somewhat uneasy as he tightened the black cloak on his body. The pressure that Nangong Yan gave him was too great. That earlier glance seemed to have penetrated through the cloak, completely exposing him to his gaze. There were no secrets that he could hide. When he saw Feng Feishue behind him, he was startled. Why did this woman appear here? Her background was too mysterious. Little did he know that when Feng Feishue saw the black-cloaked Xiao Chen, she was even more shocked. The blood flowing in her body allowed her to confirm Xiao Chen's identity with one look. She did not expect that he was really an alchemist. Furthermore, he was an alchemist that could cause even Nangong Yan to be shocked. Although her heart was in turmoil, Feng Feishue's expression did not change. Since Xiao Chen was dressed like this, he definitely did not want to reveal his identity. If she showed too much shock, Nangong Yan would definitely be suspicious. This little brother, did you refine this fasting pill? Although Nangong Yan could not see Xiao Chen's face clearly, he could clearly determine his age. He immediately asked bluntly. Xiao Chen did his best to calm his emotions. Although Nangong Yan did not purposely release his aura, the green dot in Xiao Chen's mind could not help but tremble slightly. This was the instinctive fear of the spiritual core when facing a high-ranked alchemist. Xiao Chen, who was under the cloak, took a deep breath. His thoughts were as fast as lightning. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "No, this was refined by my teacher." It is as I expected, Nangong Yan understood in his heart. He smiled and said, "How should I address your teacher?" This old man knows a few of the alchemists in the great Qin nation. I refined this pill myself, how could I have a teacher? Xiaochen smiled coldly in his heart. At this moment, he had completely recovered his mental state. He said coldly, "Is this Linlang Pavilion doing business or is it here to investigate someone's background? If you are not doing business, then I will take my leave." After he spoke, he stood up and left. Nangong Yen was startled. He knew that he had been too impatient and was too rude. He hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Little friend, please wait a moment." This old man was rude. Xiaochen stopped and turned his back on Nangong Yen. "I can stay, but I only want to talk about business." Nangong Yen gave Old Hu a look, and Old Hu immediately understood. He smiled and pulled Xiaochen back to sit down. "If you want to bid, there is no place more suitable than Linlang Pavilion in Mo City. Chapter 29. Then Pavilion Master, please set a price. Xiaochen looked at Nangong Yen and said indifferently. Nangong Yen muttered to himself for a while before saying, "For these fasting pills, Linlang Pavilion will start the auction at a base price of 10,000 silver taels. What do you think?" Xiaochen calculated in his heart. The 20 fasting pills would be the base price of 200,000 silver taels. According to the rules of the auction house, he could withdraw 30% of the base price, which was 60,000 silver taels. That was barely enough for him. "Then it's a deal. I will hand these 20 fasting pills over to Linlang Pavilion to auction. Bring me the contract." Nangong Yen smiled gently and said, "There is no rush. I would like to discuss something with you. I would like to buy 10 of these 20 fasting pills. Of course, I will not take advantage of you. I will add another 20% to the final price of these fasting pills." To Xiaochen, there was no loss. It did not matter who he sold it to. "You have to give me the base price of these 10 fasting pills first. In addition, you have to give me 30% of the base price of the other 10 pills. You have to give me 130,000 silver taels first." Nangong Yen nodded his head and said, "That is not a problem. According to the agreement, Linlang Pavilion's processing fee is 10%. I can only charge you 5%. If you have similar pills in the future, I hope that you will continue to patronize Linlang Pavilion." This was quite attractive to Xiaochen. Without spending a large amount of money, an alchemist's rank would not increase. Cooperating with Linlang Pavilion was a good choice. After signing the contract and receiving the 130,000 silver taels, Xiaochen immediately left Linlang Pavilion. Old Hu took out 10 fasting pills and placed them in another jade bottle. He passed it to Nangong Yen and said, "Pavilion Master, can I place these pills directly into the shelf?" Nangong Yen shook his head and said, "Not for now. Find someone to test the effects first, in case you make a mistake." Old Hu was shocked in his heart. It turned out that the Pavilion Master was not sure of the effects of these fasting pills. Xiaochen came out from the back door of Linlang Pavilion and did not attract anyone's attention. He found a desolate place and immediately changed his clothes. He held the silver taels and laughed foolishly. This was the first large sum of money he had earned. He was very excited. After Xiaochen went to the medicine store and bought 100 sets of each of the 2 ingredients, he still had a lot of money left. After thinking for a while, he bought some nectar, hairpins, and jewelry that girls liked. He was preparing to give these to Bao and Xiao Yulan. After Xiaochen bought everything, he ended up carrying more than 10 bags of various sizes. It was very inconvenient. This made him even more eager to refine some spatial attributed magic treasures. However, the prerequisite for all this was that he had to cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the 2nd layer before he could have the basic ability to refine treasures. Now, he could only prepare to hire a horse carriage. He tossed over a large amount of silver taels and the original owner immediately ran off. "This is the feeling of being a rich young master," Xiaochen sighed in his heart. After he placed all the goods on the carriage, Xiaochen felt much more relaxed. The horses in this world were much more docile than those on earth. After a few tries, Xiaochen gradually grasped the technique of driving. As he drove the carriage out of the city gates, there were fewer and fewer people on the road. In the end, there were not many people left. This was the first time Xiaochen had earned such a large sum of money. He was in a very good mood. His voice was not very good as he started to hum some random songs from his previous world. Today's weather is really sunny, there are beautiful sceneries everywhere, butterflies are busy, bees are busy, the smell of the falling flowers from the horses' hooves, I'm rich, I'm holding a Nokia in my left hand, and a Motorola in my right. Most of the songs were sung randomly, and he did not remember the lyrics. Ever since he came to this world, Xiaochen had never felt so relaxed before. Since there was no one on the road, no one would know about his broken voice. Thus, he sang excitedly. Haha, suddenly, there was a bell-like laughter coming from the roof of the carriage above him. It was like a wind chime colliding in the wind, tinkling non-stop. Who is it? Xiaochen quickly stopped singing and shouted sternly. I was too careless. How long has this person been following me? How did I not notice him? Xiaochen drew out the lunar shadow saber that he had been carrying on his back and let down the reins. He pushed off the ground lightly, flipped over, and hacked at the source of the voice. Feng Feishue, who was on the roof of the carriage, laughed softly and easily dodged Xiaochen's saber. She somersaulted twice in the air and gracefully landed on the ground. I did not expect young Master Xiao to be so talented. Aside from refining medicine, it turns out that you can sing pretty well as well. Xiaochen, who was on the roof of the carriage, looked at Feng Feishue, who was dressed in men's clothing. He felt very embarrassed. In his previous life, when he was singing loudly with earphones in an internet cafe and was heard by others, this was how he felt. Putting away the lunar shadow saber, Xiaochen smiled and said, I did not expect Miss Feng, such a beautiful lady, to follow me and do such sneaky things. Feng Feishue, you disappoint me. After he said that, he shook his head in all seriousness. Feng Feishue smiled gently, I did not follow you sneakily. After you left the city, I sat in your carriage. Not only did you not thank the person who sold you the medicine cauldron, you even wanted to use your saber to hurt him. Young Master Xiao, I am very disappointed in you. After she said that, she copied Xiaochen's actions and shook her head. This time, when he met Feng Feishue, Xiaochen did not feel as uncomfortable as he did when he was in Regretful Iron. Furthermore, he did not feel any ill intent from Feng Feishue, so he felt more at ease. Seeing Feng Feishue shake her head, Xiaochen could not help but laugh. He jumped down from the carriage and took out a hairpin from his bosom and tossed it to Feng Feishue. Then, he started to drive the carriage again. Miss Feng, no matter why you are following me, I am going back now. Take this hairpin as a thank you gift for selling me the medicine cauldron. Feng Feishue received the hairpin and looked at the distant carriage. She shook her head and smiled, this idiot, when has he ever seen me use a hairpin? Indeed, Feng Feishue, who often dressed as a man, had no use for a hairpin that was normally used by girls. Perhaps Xiaochen did it on purpose, or perhaps it was unintentional. However, he was already far away, and it was too late to ask. Feng Feishue shook her head and slowly walked back. By the time she returned to the Xiao residence, the sun was already high above her head. Xiaochen's journey back and forth took him the entire morning. After driving the carriage to his courtyard, Xiaochen saw Bao cleaning up the mess he had made yesterday. Jumping down from the carriage and seeing Bao's weak body, Xiaochen felt a sense of pity in his heart. He waved his hand at Bao and said, Don't do that for now. Come and help me move some things. Bao quickly put down what she was doing and ran over. Although she said she wanted to help, Xiaochen had already moved some of the larger items in himself. Bao looked at the large pile of clothing and headgear in the carriage with a strange expression. She suspiciously picked up these items and headed to Xiaochen's room. Seeing the items in Bao's hands, Xiaochen smiled and said, these are for you. You can choose anything you like. Just leave some for me, I still have to give some to my friends. Bao felt a warmth in her heart. She did not expect these things to be bought for her. However, she was just a maid. Why would the young master buy things for her? Could it be, thinking of that embarrassing matter, Bao's face turned red again. She lowered her head and casually picked a few clothes and headgear before running off. Xiaochen felt a little suspicious. Could it be that the things he bought were too miscellaneous and the girl did not like them? After all, this was the first time he bought things for a girl. In the following days, Xiaochen anxiously refined the essence nurturing pill and qi returning pill. Every day, he would refine until his essence was completely exhausted and his mind could no longer take it. On the first day, his failure rate was ridiculously high. Out of 10 attempts, he only succeeded 3 times. Only after he became more familiar with the process did his success rate increase. However, no matter how hard he tried, his success rate was not as high as when he refined the fasting pill. Xiaochen knew that this was related to the realm of the alchemist. When one's realm was not high enough, when one encountered a pill with a higher difficulty, it was normal for the failure rate to be high. He could not rush it. He could only rely on his own accumulation to raise his realm. After a week, Xiaochen had used up all the herbs he bought. He had refined 50 essence nurturing pills and 70 qi returning pills, which had a higher success rate. After a week of constant refining, his control over the Purple Thunder True Fire had become even more adept. His cultivation of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation had also reached the peak of the first layer. What made Xiaochen the happiest was that the green dot in his sea of consciousness would occasionally enter the medicine cauldron and observe the state of the flame and the medicinal liquid within the cauldron. Unfortunately, Xiaochen was not able to grasp this state. Sometimes it would disappear, sometimes it would disappear. Otherwise, his success rate would be much higher. At this moment, there were less than 4 months left to the promise of 10 years. The urgency in Xiaochen's heart increased with each passing day. It was time to enter Seven Horn Mountain and cultivate bitterly. Early in the morning, Xiaochen packed up the 10 fasting pills that he refined the night before. He also brought along the essence nurturing pill, qi returning pill, and the lunar shadow saber. After a simple outfit, he prepared to set off. "Young master, the water for washing your face is here. Can I come in?" Bao's voice came from outside the door once again. Xiaochen revealed a smile on his face. For the past 7 days, Xiaochen had not taken a single step out of his room. His usual meals and drinks were all prepared by Bao. She had created a very good environment for him to refine medicine. He was very grateful in his heart. Opening the door, Xiaochen received the basin. After washing his face, he turned to Bao, who was tidying the bed behind him, and said, "From tomorrow onwards, I will be cultivating bitterly. Remember to help me take care of the courtyard." Cultivating bitterly meant that he would be leaving for a long time. Bao felt a little disappointed in her heart. She acknowledged Xiaochen and continued to tidy the bed meticulously. Xiaochen stepped out of the room. Before he left, he looked at Bao's back and smiled warmly. After that, he walked out resolutely. The morning sunlight shone on the youth's face. It was very warm, filling his entire body with fighting spirit. The next time he returns, not only will he cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to the 2nd layer, he will also raise his cultivation to medial grade martial disciple. Xiaochen made a solemn vow in his heart. Chapter 30. The checkpoint at the foot of Seven Horn Mountain was still bustling with activity. Xiaochen followed the crowd and slowly climbed up the mountain. However, he did not pay the entrance fee like the other cultivators. When the guard at the checkpoint saw Xiaochen's appearance, he did not say anything. That was then, and this was now. Xiaochen was no longer the trash from back then. Naturally, no one would say anything. After passing the checkpoint and walking for a while, the vast Seven-Horn Mountain Range appeared before everyone's eyes. These cultivators who entered the Seven-Horn Mountain Range were either there to pick spirit herbs or to hunt spirit beasts. Everyone had different missions, so the huge crowd quickly dispersed. As Xiao Chen continued forward, there was no longer anyone following him. Following the route in his memory, Xiao Chen quickly found the place with the most abundant spiritual energy. Compared to the previous time, Xiao Chen's senses were much stronger. Before he even got close, he could already feel that this treasured land had been occupied by a spirit beast. Xiao Chen was slightly disappointed. He originally thought that he would be able to meet cousin Yulan here. That way, he would be able to avoid a fight. Bang! Bang! A 2-meter-tall spirit beast that looked like a black bear slowly appeared in front of Xiao Chen with heavy footsteps. Its red eyes stared at Xiao Chen as it charged at Xiao Chen and roared angrily. The Blood Moon Demonic Bear was a rank 2 spirit beast that was famous for its strength. It was equivalent to a superior grade martial disciple. This was the new overlord of this place. It was obvious that it realized that Xiao Chen was not someone to be trifled with. It only wanted to scare Xiao Chen a little. If it could chase away Xiao Chen, it would not want to engage in a pointless battle. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen was determined to obtain this place. It could not do as it wished. Chi! Xiao Chen drew the lunar shadow saber and the energy contained in the spirit weapon quickly connected with the blue dragon martial spirit in his body. Xiao Chen's figure was like lightning as he soared up from the ground and rushed at the Blood Moon Demonic Bear. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated quickly, and electricity leaped around the lunar shadow saber. The fog that lingered in the air was like a conductor of electricity, giving off a zzz sound. Everywhere Xiao Chen passed, lightning flashed incessantly. It was as though he was possessed by lightning. His aura was incomparably mighty. Since the Blood Moon Demonic Bear was able to occupy this place, it was naturally not afraid of battle. With a roar, its blood-red eyes emitted a bloodthirsty gaze. He stomped on the ground with all 4 limbs and leaped up. Instead of retreating, he advanced towards Xiao Chen who was charging at him at high speed. His enormous body actually emitted a speed that was extremely uncoordinated with his body. Bam! Screech! The man and the spirit beast collided in midair. The violent collision created a powerful shockwave that created ripples in the air. When the shockwave hit the surrounding trees, they trembled. Leaves fell one after another, like snowflakes dancing in the air. The Blood Moon Demonic Bear's front limbs grabbed the lunar shadow saber that Xiao Chen swung out. Relying on the energy of the blue dragon martial spirit, Xiao Chen was able to fight evenly with the Blood Moon Demonic Bear, which had the strength of a peak superior grade martial disciple. Xiao Chen felt that it was a pity. If this lunar shadow saber was of a higher grade, the strength of the blue dragon martial spirit would be much more than this. The strength of this strike would be able to send this big fellow flying without any suspense. However, compared to the Blood Moon Demonic Bear that could only use brute force, Xiao Chen still had the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to use. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the electric energy contained in the lunar shadow saber flowed through the front limbs of the Blood Moon Demonic Bear and entered its body. The demonic bear twitched for a while and fell to the ground with a loud bang. Xiao Chen, who was in the air, swung his saber thrice. Originally, he had fallen to the ground due to exhaustion. However, with the help of the energy of the blue dragon martial spirit, his body rose up again. He did a somersault in the air and gently landed on a thick tree branch. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and looked coldly at the Blood Moon Demonic Bear rolling on the ground. With a thought, one of the 3 white clouds beside the blue dragon martial spirit in his body immediately became much thinner. A huge amount of essence poured into Xiao Chen's left hand and he flicked his finger. A purple flame shot out like an arrow towards the Blood Moon Demonic Bear. This purple flame that exhausted a large amount of Xiao Chen's essence buzzed in the air and struck the Blood Moon Demonic Bear's body. Pooh! A deep red glow flashed on the Blood Moon Demonic Bear's body. After a while, the purple moon demonic bear's entire body started burning, turning into a bear burning with purple flames. Within the flames, the blood moon demonic bear let out a painful roar. When Xiao Chen, who was on the tree branch, saw the blood moon demonic bear's appearance, he shook his head slightly. He was not satisfied. Although this purple thunder true fire was tyrannical, if it met a high-ranked cultivator or spirit beast and they were on guard, it would be very difficult for it to break through the barrier of essence and injure the physical body. Once the energy contained in the purple flame was exhausted, it would naturally extinguish. After that, it would no longer be a threat. Just like now, although the blood moon demonic bear looked horrifying, it did not suffer from any serious injuries. What was burning on the surface of its body was only the essence on the surface of its body. It did not injure its physical body. Otherwise, it would have turned into a pile of ashes long ago. However, the blood moon demonic bear was not in a good state either. Not only did it have to expend a large amount of essence to resist the strange purple flame, the temperature on the surface of its body was also unbearable. The purple flame burned for a full minute before it was extinguished. At this moment, all the fur on the blood moon demonic bear's body was charred black. There was black smoke coming out of its nose and mouth, making it look like a piece of charred charcoal. It no longer had the aura it had before. Xiao Chen, who had been waiting for a long time, leaped down from the tree and chopped down with his saber. The blood moon demonic bear roared angrily and sent a palm strike over. A huge force came from the saber, but Xiao Chen retreated slightly, dissipating the force. The blood moon demonic bear seemed to have gone berserk. It sent palm strike after palm strike. The force was actually more than 50% stronger than before. Xiao Chen understood that the blood moon demonic bear would not be able to maintain such a state for long. Once it passed, it would be at his mercy. Xiao Chen brandished his saber and continuously retreated, not clashing head-on with it. After a while, the blood moon demonic bear revealed a trace of fatigue. A strange smile appeared on its face. Xiao Chen flicked his left hand in the air, as though he was going to shoot out the purple thunder true fire again. The blood moon demonic bear revealed an aghast expression. It fell to the ground on all fours and retreated a few steps. A deep red barrier suddenly appeared, covering the entire body of the blood moon demonic bear, not leaving any gaps. It seems like this beast was frightened by the purple thunder true fire. Xiao Chen shook his empty left hand and laughed in surprise. This deep red essence barrier should be the defensive technique that the blood moon demonic bear used earlier. Seeing the mocking gaze in Xiao Chen's eyes, the blood moon demonic bear was thoroughly enraged. Its red eyes emitted a murderous gaze, and its front paws continuously smashed the ground, causing it to make a peng-peng sound. Paper tiger, Xiao Chen despised it in his heart. I have no time to play with you. Open for me. Divine thunder break. With a light shout, Xiao Chen sent out a resplendent electric light. The superior grade yellow ranked divine thunder break tore through the air at lightning speed. It was like a sharp arrow nailed into a wooden board. A finger-sized hole immediately appeared in the red barrier of the blood moon demonic bear. Purple thunder true fire, shoot! The white cloud beside the blue dragon martial spirit in Xiao Chen's body turned transparent. One of the 3 white clouds was used up. Xiao Chen had used up a third of his essence. The strange and tyrannical purple flame instantly drilled into the hole, and a black hole appeared on the body of the blood moon demonic bear. This was the result of the purple flame burning its body. The black hole quickly spread to its entire body. The blood moon demonic bear let out a heart-wrenching cry of pain. It ran and rolled around, but no matter what it did, it could not extinguish this strange flame. After a while, all that was left on the ground was a complete skeleton and a pile of black ashes. If one was here to hunt spirit beasts and saw such a scene, they would definitely curse out loud. The blood moon demonic bear could be said to be the most valuable spirit beast in the periphery of Seven-Horn Mountain. The bear paws, bear gall, bear skin, and bear heart were all extremely valuable. If one was lucky enough to obtain a spirit pill, then they would have struck it rich. It could be said that Xiao Chen was the only one who managed to burn it cleanly. Looking at the skeleton on the ground, Xiao Chen did not feel any pity in his heart. He was not here to hunt spirit beasts. If he needed money, he could just refine medicinal pills. There was no need to waste time collecting materials from spirit beasts. After finding some sturdy branches, Xiao Chen tied the skeleton of the Blood Moon demonic bear together and hung it on a tree. This way, he could prevent spirit beasts and cultivators from finding trouble with him. After tidying up everything, Xiao Chen took out a fasting pill and swallowed it. He circulated his energy and absorbed all the medicinal energy before taking out an essence-nurturing pill and swallowing it. Sitting cross-legged, the Purple Thunder divine incantation circulated silently. Xiao Chen could clearly feel the medicinal energy of the essence-nurturing pill. The amount of spiritual energy he absorbed was twice as dense as the previous time. This would greatly increase the speed of Xiao Chen's cultivation. The Purple Thunder divine incantation was only a cultivation technique. It was different from the realms of a cultivator. There was no bottleneck for a cultivation technique to break through. After accumulating to a certain realm, it would naturally enter the second layer. Furthermore, the first layer of the Purple Thunder divine incantation was just the foundation. Even if Xiao Chen did not have the help of the essence-nurturing pill, the Purple Thunder divine incantation would enter the second layer in another 3 to 4 months. However, the Xiao clan's promise of 10 years was approaching. There was not much time before Xiao Chen. If he wanted to defeat Zhang He with such slow progress, it was simply a pipe dream. There was an entire realm of difference between a medial-grade martial master and an inferior-grade martial disciple. There was a natural difference between a martial master and a martial master. After becoming a martial master, one would be able to freely release their essence. The essence stored in their body, be it in terms of purity or quantity, was much stronger than that of a martial master. The most important thing was that a martial master's control over their martial spirit had entered another realm. That was when the martial spirit could leave the body. They could freely control the martial spirit to enter and exit the body, just like Xiao Yulan. She had used the martial spirit to leave the body and successfully killed a martial grand master who was one realm higher than her. Although there were some tricks involved, if a martial master were to face a martial grand master, no matter what tricks he used, he would not be able to kill a martial grand master. There were still 4 months left. No matter what kind of genius one was, they would not be able to break through from the martial disciple realm to the martial master realm within 4 months. Thus, if Xiao Chen wanted to defeat Zhang He, he could only place his attention on the Purple Thunder divine incantation. Once the Purple Thunder divine incantation successfully reached the second layer, there would be a qualitative change. He would be able to condense the most important and basic energy of a cultivator, spiritual sense. Only with spiritual sense would he be able to execute the miraculous spells in the compendium of cultivation, refine talismans, forge magic treasures, and lay down formations. This was the reason why Xiao Chen, as a martial disciple, was able to cross realms and challenge Zhang He, a martial master. Chapter 31. With the aid of the fasting pill, Xiao Chen did not need to eat for half a month. All he had to do was focus on cultivating. This saved him a lot of time compared to regular cultivators. However, the feeling of loneliness was hard to describe. Cultivating bitterly alone was even more boring than hiding in a room to refine medicine. However, from the first day he arrived in this world, Xiao Chen understood that in this Tianwu continent where the strong preyed on the weak, only the strong could obtain the dignity and honor that they deserved. There was no such thing as shortcuts on the path of the strong. Reaping without sowing only existed in novels. In this world, only by enduring true loneliness and putting in 1,000,000 times the effort could one become a true strong person. Just like that, Xiao Chen tirelessly cultivated day after day. Occasionally, birds would fly by and the sound of insects would enter his ears, but it had nothing to do with him. His entire mind was immersed in this mysterious world of cultivation. After 7 days, Xiao Chen's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. A purple light shot out from his eyes. Xiaochen got up and stretched his arms and legs. He took a deep breath and his entire body felt very comfortable. 7 days, a total of 7 days. With the aid of the essence nurturing pill, Xiaochen finally broke through to the second layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Everything seemed to be going smoothly without any obstructions. With miraculous spirit pills and the abundant spiritual energy in this place, breaking through to the second layer within a week was not strange at all. After the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation reached the second layer, he would be able to condense his spiritual sense. Xiaochen was very excited. He quickly followed the method in the Compendium of Cultivation and sank his consciousness, sensing the spiritual sense in his mind. After a while, a world that he had never seen before appeared in front of him. In the boundless space, there was a green dot giving off a faint glow. This was Xiaochen's spiritual world. With a thought, the spiritual world instantly turned into a magnificent palace. Xiaochen was ecstatic. It was indeed like what was recorded in the Compendium of Cultivation. In the spiritual world, he was the master of it. Whatever he wanted, he could shape it. The so-called divine sense was actually the will that existed in the mind of a cultivator, and it was no different from the will of an ordinary person. It was just that a cultivator's mind, after being sublimated, could move at will, turning intangible into tangible. This palace in the spiritual space could be seen as the embodiment of Xiaochen's mind. The next step was to release his spiritual sense. After thinking for a while, the spiritual sense in his mind immediately spread out. In an instant, the world within 500 meters appeared in Xiaochen's mind. Every blade of grass, every tree, and every spirit beast of various sizes appeared in Xiaochen's mind. No, it was even more magical than seeing it with his own eyes. Xiaochen could even feel the breathing of these spirit beasts, their pulses, and the beating of their hearts. Suddenly, the green dot in his spiritual space seemed to be unwilling to be left out. It followed Xiaochen's divine sense and unexpectedly released it. The spirit core unexpectedly fused with his divine sense. After his spiritual sense and spiritual sense fused, he started to quickly scan the surrounding flora and fauna. After a round of identification, something else appeared in Xiaochen's mind. The spirit herbs hidden in the weeds were discovered one by one. The medicinal properties and medicinal age of the herbs, these intuitive information actually appeared in Xiaochen's mind. Surprisingly, after his divine sense and spiritual sense fused, it actually had the ability to search for herbs. Not far from Xiaochen, there were a few extremely well-hidden herbs hidden in the weeds. Withdrawing his divine sense, Xiaochen walked towards the place he had just scouted. Indeed, behind the weeds, there were a few stalks of exuberant white wind spirit grass. Behind the wind spirit grass, there was also a scarlet fruit. This wind spirit grass was about 10 years old, and its medicinal value was very high. The scarlet fruit behind it was even more precious. It was a red nascent fruit that had just ripened. The red nascent fruit was of the fire attribute. It was of great help to cultivators who cultivated fire-attributed cultivation techniques. In many high-ranked medicinal pills, the red nascent fruit was an essential ingredient. Xiaochen did not expect to receive such a pleasant surprise the first time he used his divine sense. Immediately after, he remembered that in the outermost region of Seven Horn Mountain, this was the place with the densest spiritual energy. It was not strange for a few low-ranked natural treasures to appear here. Xiaochen felt relieved. Unfortunately, he came in a hurry and did not bring a box to store the herbs. If he rashly picked the herbs, he would not be able to preserve them properly. The value of the spirit herbs would be greatly reduced. He could only wait until he left the mountain to pick them again. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaochen started to recall some of the introductory spells in the Compendium of Cultivation. In this world, one could not build a foundation or form a core. It was better to focus on martial cultivation. Immortal techniques could only be used as support. He had to find some spells that were helpful in battle. There were many introductory spells in the Compendium of Cultivation. However, many of them were not very useful in this world. Xiaochen pondered for a long time in his memory. Finally, he decided on a few spells that he wanted to practice. The gravity spell was a very introductory movement technique. It could use the gravity of the earth to allow a person to float in the air for a short period of time. It could not completely achieve the effect of flight, but it was a good choice when one's cultivation was low. Xiaochen placed the gravity spell at the top of his list. Aside from the above reasons, the gravity spell could be leveled up. When it was practiced to the great perfection, it would allow one to move as fast as the wind, traveling 1,000 kilometers in an instant. Furthermore, the consumption of essence was extremely small. After making up his mind, Xiaochen started to practice. He circulated the essence in his body according to the methods in the Compendium of Cultivation. After a while, a rebound force came from the ground under his feet. It was as though he had entered a weightless state. His body suddenly floated up. Bang! This was the first time Xiaochen had entered such a state. He was completely unprepared. The circulation of essence in his body stopped for a moment and his body suddenly fell down. That really hurts. Xiaochen smiled as he patted the dust off his body. Although his first experiment had failed, he had found a way to do it. He should be able to do it after a few more tries. After all, it was only an introductory movement technique. After Xiaochen carefully tried a few more times, he finally found the technique. The principle behind the gravity spell was very simple. It was to allow one to enter a weightless state and then float up. As long as one got used to this weightless state, it would not be difficult. After familiarizing himself with it, Xiaochen seemed to have found something fun to do. He flew from tree to tree and from tree to tree. Although this was not the true flight technique, the feeling of his feet floating in the air, the feeling of being able to control his body freely, was very refreshing. This short flight gave rise to an ambition in Xiaochen's heart. If his cultivation realm increased in the future, how would it feel to be able to roam the world and fly like the wind? Following that, Xiaochen started practicing the remaining 3 movement techniques: Heavenly Lightning Shield, Lightning Descend, and Lightning Evasion. In the short term, Xiaochen did not intend to practice the other movement techniques. He understood the principle of not biting off more than he could chew. These 3 spell stones were very practical lightning-attributed movement techniques. Heavenly Lightning Shield, as the name suggested, condensed a shield of lightning to defend against the enemy's attacks. Lightning Descend, summoned lightning to attack the enemy. Lightning Evasion, used the power of lightning to quickly leave the battlefield. Originally, if the lightning evasion was changed to the earth evasion, the effects would be much better. Unfortunately, Xiaochen cultivated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. It was too difficult to execute earth-attributed movement techniques, so he could only give up on it. For the entire day, Xiaochen practiced these movement techniques. The thick trees in the surroundings became the best targets. Lightning descended one after another, and the thick trees were immediately split in half. The continuous rumbling of thunder only stopped in the middle of the night. Because the essence in his body had been completely exhausted, Xiaochen swallowed an essence-nurturing pill and sat down cross-legged once again, entering into a state of cultivation. After the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation reached the second layer, the rate at which he absorbed spiritual energy increased once again. The 3 white clouds around the blue dragon started to fill up at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiaochen had always thought that the essence in his body came from the blue dragon martial spirit. However, after he slowly familiarized himself with it, he realized that was not the case. The core of the essence in his body came from the 3 white clouds around the blue dragon martial spirit. These white clouds were not real white clouds, but a cloud-like substance formed from essence. They floated beside the blue dragon, and there seemed to be a faint connection between them. With Xiaochen's current cultivation realm, he could not understand what this connection was. The only thing he was clear about was that when the 4th white cloud appeared, he would enter the realm of medial grade martial disciple. At that time, the essence in his body would increase once again. Early the next morning, Xiaochen opened his eyes and stretched his body. He extended his spiritual sense and did not discover anyone within a radius of 500 meters. Spiritual sense was indeed useful. Not only could it differentiate spirit herbs, it could also detect the surroundings and detect hidden enemies. Its perception was much stronger than a regular cultivator's. Xiao Qin sighed in his heart. Gravity spell. Xiao Qin muttered in his heart. After a while, Xiao Qin floated up. He was much more familiar with this compared to yesterday. Xiao Qin, who was in midair, looked at the ground below him and shouted once again. Heavenly Lightning Shield. A triangular lightning shield appeared, protecting Xiao Qin in midair. The lightning shield gave off a faint purple glow. This was a barrier formed from pure lightning-attributed energy. Xiao Qin estimated that it could deal with the full-powered strike of a martial Grand Master. Lightning descend. Xiao Qin, who was in midair, pointed his finger gently and a bolt of lightning as thick as a bowl descended from the sky. A thick tree on the ground was split in half with a boom. Such might was comparable to a profound ranked martial technique. Furthermore, as it descended from the sky, the speed of the lightning made it hard for one to dodge. Lightning evasion. After the last spell was executed, Xiao Qian's figure immediately disappeared from his original spot. Suddenly, there was the sound of thunder 100 meters in front of him. A dazzling bolt of lightning struck down from the sky. Within the electric light, Xiao Qian's figure appeared in midair without any injuries. After executing the 4 spells once, Xiao Qian slowly descended. He did not continue practicing, as he had more important things to do today. Refining weapons. Refining a spatial ring that Xiao Qin had been eyeing for a long time. Chapter 32. See. A strand of purple flame appeared in Xiao Qian's palm. Then, it suddenly blossomed. The thin flame became a clump of raging flames. He raised his right hand and the flame soared into the air. This was the power of the spiritual sense. After obtaining the spiritual sense, Xiao Qian was even more familiar with the control of the purple thunder true fire. The flames that were controlled by the spiritual sense were like an extra arm to Xiao Qian. It was something that could not be compared to using perception. Xiao Qian took out a broken sword from his bosom and withdrew his gaze from the flame. This was the broken sword that he obtained from the Thunder King's cave. Xiao Qian had studied it for a long time. Aside from its sharpness, he could not see any other special characteristics. However, it could not be denied that the material of this broken sword was very good. The requirements for the materials needed to refine a universe ring were very high. This broken sword happened to meet those stringent requirements. Perhaps it was once a divine-grade spirit weapon, but now it was just a broken sword. There was not much use for it. Using it as a material to refine a universe ring was like making use of trash. So, Senior Thunder King, please don't blame me, Xiao Qian said in his heart. Tossing the broken sword into the middle of the purple flames, Xiao Qian controlled the purple flames to burn fiercely. At this moment, he needed to raise the temperature of the purple flames to an extreme. Only then could he melt the broken sword. Without a doubt, this exhausted a lot of spiritual energy. The temperature of the purple flames continued to rise, and its color became darker and darker. However, there were no changes to the broken sword. It quietly floated above the purple flames. Soon, one of the 3 white clouds beside the blue dragon martial spirit faded. Xiao Qian wiped the sweat off his forehead and continued to raise the temperature of the purple thunder true fire. Even if it was a divine weapon, Xiao Qian was determined to melt it into molten iron today. Just as the 3 white clouds were about to be completely consumed, a change finally occurred to the green broken sword. It began to slowly melt, and a green viscous liquid flowed on its surface. In the end, it turned into a drop of green molten iron and dripped into the purple flames. The expression on Xiao Qian's face eased up a little. He swallowed a qi-returning pill and quickly recovered the essence in his body. Slowly, the surface of the broken sword became more and more viscous. Drops of green-colored molten metal dripped into the purple flames. This mysterious broken sword was finally melted by him. Xiao Qin controlled his spiritual sense and melted the molten metal of the broken sword into a ball. Then, he continued to refine it. Strands of azure smoke came from the purple flames. He extracted all the remaining impurities from the broken sword, making it even purer. After that, he controlled his spiritual sense and melted the molten iron in the purple flames into a ball. Then, he continued to refine it. Strands of cyan smoke came out from the purple flames. Xiao Qin extracted all the impurities in the broken sword, making it even purer. The next step was to open up a space. What Xiao Qin wanted to forge was not a large spatial ring, so it was not difficult to open up a space. All he needed to do was lay down a spatial formation in the ring. At this moment, his spiritual sense was like an incarnation of Xiao Qin. He stood in the ring and continuously carved, arranging the talisman scripts for the spatial ring. All sorts of talisman scripts slowly appeared on the inner walls of the ring. As Xiao Qin carved, he recalled the talisman scripts for the spatial formation in the Compendium of Cultivation. All sorts of talisman scripts started to appear on the inner walls of the ring. As Xiao Qin carved, he recalled the talisman scripts for the spatial formation in the Compendium of Cultivation. If he made a mistake, he would have to start all over again. Thus, even though Xiao Qin was slow, he did not want to make any mistakes. After he finished carving the talisman scripts, Xiao Qin withdrew his spiritual sense and finalized the design of the ring. The purple flames burned slowly. After a while, Xiao Qin extinguished the purple thunder true fire. He stretched out his hand and caught the falling universe ring. He cut his right index finger and dripped a drop of blood onto it. When the blood entered the ring, this universe ring became his personal magic treasure. Ha ha! The instant the blood completely entered the ring, Xiao Qin entered a dazed state. There seemed to be a melodious laughter in his mind. When he regained consciousness, he could no longer hear anything. Could it be that I'm hallucinating? Xiao Qin muttered as he looked at the cyan ring in his hand. Never mind, it doesn't matter. As long as I succeed, it's fine. According to the records in the Compendium of Cultivation, it was not difficult to refine a 100 cubic meter universe ring. This was only the first step on the path of refining treasures. In the past, when the cultivation world still existed on Earth, the first magic treasure that every Foundation establishment cultivator refined was this universe ring. Placing the universe ring on the index finger of his right hand, Xiao Qin sent out a strand of his spiritual sense into it. A pitch-black space appeared in front of him. This was the space within the universe ring. Although it was only 100 cubic meters, Xiao Qin was still very satisfied. In the future, he would no longer have to be envious of the First Elder and Feng Feishue's spatial rings. Arriving at the place where the red nascent fruit was, Xiao Qin first picked a few stalks of wind spirit grass and placed them into the universe ring. Looking at the red nascent fruit that had just ripened, Xiao Qin revealed a smile on his face. I can't wait for you to grow up. This young master, will pick you today. There was a sealed space within the universe ring. Even after 10,000 years, the things placed in it would still look the same when they were taken out. Thus, Xiao Qin could rest assured as he placed these stalks of herbs into the universe ring. Just as Xiao Qin stood up, the sound of soft footsteps entered his ears. Ever since he condensed his spiritual sense, his six senses had become abnormally sharp. In the past, he would not have been able to achieve such an effect. Xiao Qin frowned slightly and immediately released his spiritual sense. Everything within 500 meters of him immediately appeared clearly in Xiao Qin's mind. A group of cultivators were currently standing near the skeleton of the Blood Moon demonic bear, discussing something in low voices. They are actually the people of the Tang clan. What are they doing here? After he saw their attire, Xiao Qin thought suspiciously. There was a total of 10 Tang clan disciples. Every one of them was at least a superior grade martial disciple. One of the old men was even a martial grand master. Out of the three great clans of Mo City, the Tang clan was the most low-profile and silent. Many years ago, this clan was just a small clan. When the local clans were focused on attacking the Shao clan, the Tang clan did not bother with them. In the few large-scale battles between clans, the Tang clan did not participate in any of them. Many of the great clans in the past slowly exhausted their strength in the battles, and their strength slowly weakened. As for the Tang clan, it quietly and slowly developed into one of the three great clans of Mo City. In the promise of 10 years' Seven-Horn Mountain contest, the Tang clan chose to forfeit every time. In the open and covert struggle between the Zhang clan and the Shao clan, the Tang clan's attitude was always very subtle. The Tang clan was an abnormally low-profile clan in Mo City. When the old man saw the skeleton of the Blood Moon demonic bear hanging on the tree, his expression changed slightly. He said to the youth leading the group, "First young master, we should leave quickly. The mission is more important. There is something wrong with this place." Xiao Chen recognized the youth leading the group. He was the eldest son of the Tang clan's clan head, Tang Yuan. He was usually very low profile and rarely did anything out of line. Tang Yuan looked at the Blood Moon demonic bear's skeleton on the tree, but he did not pay much attention to it. It was just a rank 2 magical beast, he could kill it himself. He smiled and said, "Second uncle, the last time I passed by this place, I discovered an unripe red nascent fruit. After such a long time, I believe it should be ripe by now." When the old man heard the words red nascent fruit, his face immediately revealed an excited expression. The cultivation technique he cultivated was of the fire attribute. This red nascent fruit would be of great help to him. If he was lucky, he might even be able to advance by a small realm after consuming it. However, when he looked at the skeleton of the Blood Moon demonic bear, he had some doubts in his heart. He was someone who played with fire, so naturally, he could tell. This Blood Moon demonic bear was burned to death by someone using an extremely tyrannical flame. Aside from the hard bones, the rest of its body was burnt to ashes. Such a tyrannical flame, with his strength, he was barely able to do it. Tang Yuan seemed to have seen through the old man's worries. He smiled and said, "Second uncle, we have so many people here. Aside from you, who is a martial grand master, there are also 7 superior grade martial masters. As long as they are not martial saints, they will not be a threat. Furthermore, the location of the red nascent fruit is extremely remote. It should not be discovered by others." The old man was actually thinking the same thing. Now that he heard someone's advice, he no longer hesitated. "Then let's hurry up. Don't let anything go wrong. Our next mission is the most important." Tang Yuan's face bloomed with a smile as he calculated in his heart. "Now that the second elder has obtained some benefits from me, the third elder is already on my side. 2 of the 3 elders are already on my side. Let's see how you are going to compete with me." Under Tang Yuan's lead, the group of people walked majestically towards the location of the red nascent fruit. Tang Yuan had a smile on his face as he pushed aside a pile of lush weeds. When he saw the barren ground, the smile on his face froze. What's going on? Tang Yun thought suspiciously in his heart. It had to be known that he had discovered the red nascent fruit by coincidence. If it was not for the fact that it was not ripe yet, he would have picked it long ago. How could the others think that there would be a red nascent fruit growing behind a pile of weeds? The old man behind Tang Yuan had a gloomy expression as he looked at the soil on the ground. He said in a cold voice, "This was just picked. The smell of the soil is still fresh." Tang Yuan hammered the ground hatefully and said apologetically, "Second uncle, I'm sorry. We made a wasted trip. If I had known earlier, I would have picked it earlier." The old man shook his head and smiled faintly, that might not be the case. Boom! Right after he spoke, the old man looked straight ahead like lightning. He stretched out his hand and pointed forward. A firebird flew out from his body. In an instant, it turned into a huge firebird. It let out a melodious cry and flew towards a large tree in front, carrying a surging heat wave. Before the firebird got close, the large tree was set ablaze by the heat wave carried by the firebird. Xiao Chen, who was hiding behind the tree, revealed himself and immediately jumped to another tree. Before Xiao Chen could stabilize himself, the flaming bird let out another melodious cry. Its speed and size doubled again. It tore through the air, creating a heat wave as it flew towards Xiao Chen with a long, flaming tail. Xiao Chen quickly jumped down from the tree. An intense explosion came from behind him, and a violent shockwave assaulted him. Under the huge impact, Xiao Chen fell miserably to the ground. When Xiao Chen looked at the large tree again, it had already been blasted into pieces. Under the high temperature, the broken pieces immediately burned to ashes, and a large cloud of white smoke came out. When the white smoke entered his nose, Xiao Chen, who had just gotten up, coughed violently a few times. The firebird in the smoke cried out again, and its speed doubled again. Its speed reached a horrifying level. When the smoke scattered, the size of the firebird was already comparable to a small car. Damn it, it's still coming. Seeing the huge firebird chasing after him, Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. Does it think that I am a soft persimmon that can be bullied as they please? Heavenly Lightning Shield. Chapter 33. Boom! The huge flaming bird smashed into Xiao Chen's heavenly lightning shield violently, giving off an explosive sound. Then, it turned into sparks that filled the sky. The sparks that filled the sky were like fireflies flying back to the old man's body. A 5-meter deep pit appeared on the ground. The shattered rocks had turned into powder, and the surroundings were covered in dust. Xiao Chen, who was in the deep pit, was very pale, but he was fine. With the dust flying everywhere, no one could see the situation in the deep pit. When Tang Yuan saw the situation, he smiled. Second uncle, that person was struck by your triple-layer explosion flaming bird. Even if he doesn't die, he will be severely injured. The old man revealed a pleased expression. The triple-layer explosion flaming bird was the profound ranked martial technique that he was proud of. It used his control over his martial spirit to send it out of his body to attack the enemy. Every time the flaming bird cried out, it would quickly absorb the surrounding fire-attributed energy, doubling its might and speed. After 3 cries, the energy carried by the flaming bird would be enough to burn a regular martial master to ashes even if they used all their strength. In that instant, the old man had already ascertained that the person hiding behind the tree was just an inferior grade martial disciple. He did not believe that this person had any chance of surviving. Come, let's go and take a look. Hopefully, the medicine box has not been burned. The old man said with some regret. He had made his move too hastily and used a big move from the start. Now that he thought about it, he had made a big fuss over a minor issue. If the medicine box had been burned, it would not have been worth it. Just at this moment, dust flew everywhere, and a blurry figure appeared in the deep pit filled with white smoke. Although the appearance of this person could not be seen clearly, the aura of this person was very vigorous. This showed that this person was not severely injured. How is this possible? The group of Tang clan cultivators exclaimed in shock and doubt. The expression on the old man's face was very interesting. His face was filled with disbelief. He is clearly only an inferior grade martial disciple. How can he block my profound ranked martial technique? This doesn't make sense. Xiao Chen did not reveal himself in the dust. With his spiritual sense, everyone's expressions and position appeared clearly in his mind. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing a dangerous smile. Did you feel good beating me up? It's time for me to make my move. Xiao Chen smiled faintly to himself. He pointed his right hand towards the sky while his left hand kept forming hand seals. Thunder rumbled continuously in the sky. Under the clear sky, large patches of dark clouds suddenly gathered, and the forest instantly became incomparably dusky, like the weather before a thunderstorm, appearing incomparably strange. Lightning fall. Lightning fall. Lightning fall. Explode. 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 Xiao Qian made up his mind and expended all the essence in his body, instantly summoning more than 10 bolts of lightning. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll pay them back tenfold. Under the cover of a large patch of dark clouds, more than 10 bolts of lightning tore through the dark sky, illuminating the forest like a solar eclipse. Facing the darkening sky, everyone from the Tang clan was incomparably shocked. Why did the weather suddenly change? This was simply too strange. Not good, this is a high-ranked martial technique, everyone be careful, the old man shouted loudly, his heart was incomparably anxious. Hearing the old man's words, before everyone could react, more than 10 bolts of lightning had already descended. There was a series of booming sounds, accompanied by many miserable wails. After the dark clouds scattered, everyone from the Tang clan, aside from the martial Grand Master, were still in perfect condition. The others were all lying on the ground, black smoke coming out of their mouths and noses. 3 superior-grade martial cultivators died on the spot, their bodies giving off the smell of being roasted. Tang Yuan stood up from the ground in a sorry state. He looked at the 3 roasted superior-grade martial cultivators with lingering fear. If the old man had not secretly helped him earlier, he would have been roasted like these people. What martial technique is this? Tang Yuan's face was filled with fear as he asked in a trembling voice. The old man was expressionless as he looked at the blurry figure in the dust in front of him. He muttered, lightning attribute, earth-ranked martial technique, earth-ranked martial technique. Earth-ranked martial techniques were extremely rare, even in the rich and powerful clans of the great Qin nation. They were treated as family heirlooms. What exactly was this person's identity? Not only was he good at using fire, he even knew a lightning-attributed earth-ranked martial technique. Could he be a dual-attributed cultivator? The doubts in the old man's heart deepened. He did not have time to think and immediately flew forward. He killed so many people of my Tang clan, we cannot let him escape. If he is really the descendant of a rich and powerful sect, then all the more we should kill him. Otherwise, if we let the tiger return to the mountains, with the power of those big clans, the small Tang clan would not be able to defend against them in the future. This person executed an earth-ranked martial technique as an inferior-grade martial disciple. The drain on his energy and the backlash would definitely be huge. There was no way he would give him the chance to recover. After swallowing a qi-returning pill, Xiao Qian looked at the situation of the Tang clan. He was very satisfied with the damage that the lightning descend spell with his full power had done. Earlier, the old man's attack had already killed him. If he had not learned the heavenly lightning shield, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Thus, there was no need to hold back against this group of people. If he wanted to play, he would play it big. Xiao Qian's spiritual sense felt the old man rushing over quickly. However, he was not overly anxious. The qi-returning pill in his body had already started to take effect, and his essence was quickly recovering. Seeing the old man getting closer, Xiao Qian shouted in his heart, lightning evasion. The old man rushed to the deep pit and looked at the nearby Xiao Qian. He smiled sinisterly, no matter which clan you are from, you will die here today. However, just at this moment, Xiao Qian's body suddenly disappeared. A bolt of lightning suddenly appeared 100 meters in front of him. The old man raised his head and looked at where the lightning came from. After the lightning flashed, Xiao Qian's figure immediately appeared. What martial technique is this? The old man was astonished. He raised the essence in his body to the limit. His figure was like a cunning rabbit as he dashed through the forest. I must kill him. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future, the old man thought anxiously. His speed increased explosively again. When he felt the old man behind him, Xiao Qian took a few steps forward and executed the lightning evasion again. After the lightning flashed, he appeared 100 meters away once again. Seeing Xiao Chen disappear into the distance once again, the old man roared angrily. A surging flame appeared on his body, and a pair of flaming wings appeared on his back. When the wings spread out, they were at least 2 meters wide. With a gentle pat, his body quickly glided through the air. The trees in his way were all burned in half by the wings. Everywhere he passed, there was a large area of burning tree roots. Martial spirit body possession was a technique that could only be grasped after becoming a martial grand master. In the Tianwu continent, there were some people whose martial spirits were extremely rare flying-type spirit beasts. After these people's martial spirit body possession, they would be able to grow a pair of wings. However, compared to true flight, there were many limitations. The martial spirit body possession of a martial grand master was not a true fusion with the martial spirit. It could only allow one to glide for a short distance. Furthermore, it exhausted a lot of essence, and it could not be maintained for long. If one wanted to truly merge with the martial spirit, they could only do so after becoming a martial king. At that time, they would be able to fly as high as they wanted. Furthermore, they would be able to maintain it for a longer period of time, and it would exhaust less essence. Seeing the old man closing in on him after the martial spirit body possession, Xiao Chen helplessly swallowed another essence pill. The recovery rate of his essence increased significantly. As for the side effects of consuming too many pills, he could not consider it for now. Triple layer explosion of flames. The old man roared angrily. When he saw that Xiao Chen was already in front of him, he was afraid that Xiao Chen would use that strange technique to escape again. He did not care about the little essence he had left in his body and executed this medial-grade profound ranked martial technique. Because this martial technique was executed using the martial spirit, after the old man executed the triple-layer explosion of flames, the flaming wings on his back immediately separated from his back. He turned into a huge bird in the air, and with a cry, he flew towards Xiao Chen. With the aid of the 2 qi returning pills, the recovery rate of Xiao Chen's essence reached a horrifying level. 2 of the 3 white clouds beside the blue dragon martial spirit in his body had already floated up again. Seeing the flaming bird flying towards him, Xiao Chen kept thinking. After a while, he understood. If he were to execute the lightning evasion now, he would not make it in time. He would definitely be interrupted at the last moment. It was also impossible to dodge. Every time this flaming bird cried out, its speed and might would increase explosively. Currently, he was not in his peak state. Using the heavenly lightning shield to block it head-on was not a wise move. He could only take advantage of the fact that it only cried out once and its might was weaker to completely defeat it. Once he thought of this, Xiao Chen did not hesitate. He immediately took out the lunar shadow saber from the universe ring. Rushing thunder chop. Xiao Chen, who had his back facing the old man, suddenly turned around and shouted. His body moved like lightning as he brandished his saber and rushed towards the flaming bird. With the aid of the blue dragon martial spirit, his normal attack was already comparable to a peak martial disciple. Now that he was using a martial technique, the power contained within it naturally increased explosively by a few times. A resplendent radiance lit up on the lunar shadow saber. A 2-meter-long green saber light appeared. Seeing the flaming bird in front of him, Xiao Chen could feel the surging heat wave on his face. He squinted his eyes and looked at the malevolent head of the flaming bird. Xiao Chen moved his feet and calmly drew his saber. He accurately chopped at the flaming bird's neck. The 2 horrifying forces clashed with each other and gave off a violent explosion. A heat wave spread out in all directions, and all the trees within a 10-meter radius were instantly chopped in half. A huge force rebounded from the saber. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood as his body flew backwards and crashed into a large tree. With a hung sound, the large tree was immediately broken. Xiao Chen landed on the ground with a bang and vomited another mouthful of blood. I miscalculated, I have never used the rushing thunder chop before. I had too high of an expectation of it. I actually wanted to use it to resist a profound ranked martial technique of a martial grand master. Xiao Chen, who was lying on the ground, smiled bitterly in his heart. No matter how powerful the blue dragon martial spirit is, a yellow-ranked martial technique is still a yellow-ranked martial technique. I have finally dealt with this brat. It was not in vain that I spent so much effort. The Tang clan old man heaved a sigh of relief. Before he could recover his essence, the old man immediately walked towards Xiao Chen. When the old man saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he revealed an expression as though he had seen a ghost. After a while, he laughed involuntarily. I, Tang He, chased you for a long time. I thought you were a genius of a large clan, causing us to be in such a sorry state. I did not expect it to be you, trash. Chapter 34. Seeing Xiao Chen struggling to stand up, Tang He had a confident look on his face. He smiled and said, if you did not kill the 3 people from my Tang clan, I could have let you off for the sake of the Xiao clan if you handed over the red nascent fruit. Xiao Chen revealed a cold smile on his pale face. Stop being so hypocritical. If you did not kill me first, would I have made a move against your people? Xiao Chen tightened his grip on the lunar shadow saber. He coughed gently and continued, do you really think that I do not have any ability to resist now? Tang He was stunned for a moment before he laughed loudly. Although I have already exhausted most of my essence, I only need 1 finger to deal with a heavily injured inferior grade martial disciple like you. Contempt, this was a martial grand master looking down on an inferior grade martial disciple. There was a world of difference in strength, so he looked down on Xiao Chen. Blue Dragon goes to sea, the first move of the heaven-ranked martial technique, Dragon Subduing Slash. It was a martial technique exclusive to the Blue Dragon martial spirit. After it was used, it would be like a dragon leaping into the sea, swallowing up mountains and rivers. According to legend, the hidden dragon was the king of the 4 seas. The soaring dragon was the overlord of the skies. As long as there was water, it could display boundless might. The blue dragon goes to sea was a dragon that had just come out of the sea. It obtained the might of water, causing mountains and rivers to flow in reverse. Xiao Chen silently recalled the introduction of the blue dragon goes to sea in the Dragon Subduing Slash. He looked at the incomparably noisy Tang He and smiled, 1 finger. Don't be so frightened that you start crying later. Tang He looked at the struggling Xiao Chen. It was like a cat toying with a mouse. At such a close distance, he was not afraid of Xiao Chen using his strange martial technique to escape. He also did not care about Xiao Chen's tone. He smiled and said, I said I only need 1 finger, I only need 1 finger. Chi! A strand of flame gathered on Tang He's finger. He circulated his essence and shouted. The flame burst out of his finger with a so sound, creating a long shockwave in the air as it headed for Xiao Chen's head. This flame looked inconspicuous, but in fact, it contained an enormous amount of fire attribute energy. Many of Tang He's opponents had died to this flame finger because they were careless. He did not believe that an injured inferior grade martial disciple could withstand the damage of this flaming finger at such a close distance. Naturally, Xiao Chen would not be able to endure the damage of this flame finger. However, he did not intend to endure Tang He's attack from the start. He grasped the lunar shadow saber tightly and casually changed his stance. He raised his arm and pointed the tip of his sword at Tang He. It was just a very casual starting gesture. It didn't seem like there was any movement, and it was no different from before. Xiao Chen was still seriously injured and weak. Tang He's right eyelid twitched for no reason. His heart felt empty, and a sense of danger suddenly lingered in his heart. How is this possible? This brat is seriously injured. How can he still hurt me? Tang He shook his head fiercely, suppressing the fear in his heart. He saw that the cold flame finger was already less than a meter away from Xiao Chen. In the next second, it would pierce through Xiao Chen's head. In just a second, this brat would be dead. Thinking of this, the fear in Tang He's heart completely disappeared. He revealed a faint smile on his face. It's time to end this. However, at this moment, Xiaochen suddenly shouted. A boundless aura that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas was emitted from his body. The surrounding quiet forest was like a roaring wave, there was an unending sound of waves. A formless energy exploded out from Xiaochen's body. The trees within 100 meters behind him were all uprooted. A strong wind blew, and they were all turned into tree splinters. The tree splinters filled the sky, appearing behind Xiaochen in layers. They were like the waves of the sea, rippling and swaying gently. Xiaochen only felt that his body was filled with a power that could destroy the heavens and exterminate the earth, wanting to burst out. At this moment, even if a deity or Buddha were to block him, he was confident he could kill them. Break! There was a ferocious roar. Xiaochen gently pushed his saber forward. This seemingly small movement was actually filled with a huge amount of energy. This gentle push seemed to tear through time and space. The entire space fluctuated slightly. There was an explosion in the sea of tree splinters behind him. A dragon roar came from Xiaochen's dantian. The huge energy flowed through Xiaochen's arm and through the lunar shadow saber. It formed a dragon-shaped saber chi and broke out of his body. The instant the saber chi left his body, the lunar shadow saber could no longer withstand this berserk energy and shattered. Although all of this took a long time to describe, it actually happened within a breath of time. The flame finger that Tang He sent out was like a small earthworm in front of Xiaochen's dragon-shaped saber chi, it crumbled upon contact. The huge dragon-shaped saber chi carried a boundless might as it whistled towards Tang He. One day, I want the rivers and mountains to flow in reverse. Tang He stared dumbfoundedly at all of this. It was like he saw a vast and boundless sea with an inferior-grade martial disciple riding on a huge blue dragon, breaking through the waves. Under the might of this ancient holy beast, the firebird martial spirit in Tang He's body could not help but tremble. His entire body trembled as well. The essence in his body was in a mess, not listening to his commands. The dragon-shaped saber chi arrived in an instant. Tang He did not even let out a cry of pain before his body turned into dust and disappeared from this universe. Only a red jade pendant fell down. The saber chi did not stop and continued to rush forward, creating a huge ravine in the ground. The ravine continued to extend, and no one knew how far it had traveled. This was the might of a heaven-ranked martial technique. This was the might of the blue dragon martial spirit. It carried the might of the mountains and rivers, destroying the heavens and earth. Even if it was executed by an inferior-grade martial disciple, it would still have such a horrifying might. Seeing Tang He's body turn into dust, Xiaochen's tense mind relaxed. The moment he relaxed, the side effects of executing a heaven-ranked martial technique and overdosing on medicinal pills came one after another. The essence in his body was in a mess. His skin became incomparably pale and his blood vessels could be seen clearly. After a while, cracks appeared on his skin and blood seeped out continuously. This kind of pain was like being bitten by thousands of ants. It was so painful that he wished he was dead. In the mental space of his mind, his spiritual sense was in chaos. The pain came from both his body and his mind, tormenting Xiaochen continuously. Doing his best to maintain a clear mind, Xiaochen dragged his battered body towards the ravine step by step. The red jade pendant that fell from Tang He's body was very suspicious. Unexpectedly, it was not damaged by the attack of a heaven-ranked martial technique. There was definitely something strange about it. Xiaochen dragged his body with great difficulty and held the scarlet jade pendant in his hand. Before he could take a look at it, Xiaochen fainted from the pain. Xiaochen did not know how destructive a heaven-ranked martial technique was and how high the requirements to execute it were. In the Tianwu continent, there were many examples of people overestimating themselves and executing high-ranked martial techniques, resulting in their bodies exploding and dying. If it were not for the special characteristics of the blue dragon martial spirit, Xiaochen would not have simply fainted. In the periphery of Seven Horn Mountain, where the spiritual energy was the densest, Tang Yuan and the others were still anxiously waiting for the second elder to return. They saw that the sky was getting darker and darker. Originally, they were not worried that something would happen to Tang He. However, when they heard the sound of an explosion coming from afar, they became even more worried. After a long time, the second elder still had not returned. One of them finally lost his patience and asked Tang Yuan, "First young master, are we still going to wait for the second elder? The first elder and the others are still waiting for us to bring the spirit blood jade over." Tang Yuan's clothes and filth had already been washed, but his expression was extremely haggard and pained. When he heard this person's question, he could not help but scold, "I also want to, but the spirit blood jade is in second uncle's hands. What is the point of us going?" When the group of people heard this, their originally anxious mood became even more perturbed. This spirit blood jade was a mission that the first elder had given them over and over again. For this mission, not only did they send 3 superior grade martial disciples and 7 martial masters, there was even a martial grand master leading them. With such strength, they could practically do as they pleased in Mo City. They originally thought that this mission would be extremely easy, but they did not expect it to turn out like this. If the first elder found out about this group of people would not have a good ending. Among the group of people, Tang Yuan was the one who felt the most conflicted. Others might not know the use of this spirit blood jade, but he was very clear on it. The pros and cons involved, and when he thought about the consequences of failure, Tang Yuan trembled in fear. If they had not come to find this red nascent fruit, they would not have offended that strange person, and the situation would not have escalated to such an irreversible state. Tang Yuan felt incomparable regret in his heart. He blamed himself for trying to curry favor with the second elder and overreaching himself. "First young master, don't be anxious. The situation has not reached an irreversible state. The second elder might have just been delayed for a while, or he might have been severely injured. We should go and receive him," the person who spoke earlier calmly analyzed. "If the second elder is severely injured, wouldn't we be seeking death by going?" Tang Yuan was about to scold him, but after thinking about it carefully, he gradually calmed down. The words of this person were not without reason. The second elder had already reached the peak of medial grade martial grand master long ago. Even if he lost to that mysterious person would not feel good. The most important thing was that even if the second elder was killed by that person, the mysterious person might not take away the spirit blood jade. The spirit blood jade would be useless to him. Thinking of this, Tang Yuan's expression relaxed. He said to the crowd, "We have to obtain that spirit blood jade. So no matter what, we have to go to the place where the explosion came from to take a look." Everyone's expressions were filled with fear. Even though they were far away, they could feel the horrifying energy contained in that intense explosion. However, when they thought of the consequences of failing the mission, they decided to follow behind Tang Yuan and head towards the place where the explosion came from. After walking for a short distance, they saw an incomparably exaggerated gorge on the ground. It was 3 meters wide and 7 meters deep. This gorge was at least 1,000 meters long. Everyone's expressions became extremely unsightly. However, under Tang Yuan's lead, they still rushed forward anxiously. Finally, they saw Xiao Chen lying in the gorge. When Tang Yuan saw the red jade pendant in Xiao Chen's hand, he rejoiced in his heart. Just as he was about to go forward, a green figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It gently lifted Xiao Chen's body and leaped forward quickly. Tang Yuan stopped his subordinates from giving chase. He looked coldly at the disappearing green figure and said coldly, "There is no need to give chase." Chapter 35. In a daze, Xiao Chen finally woke up after an unknown amount of time. He struggled to open his eyes and discovered that he was lying on a wooden bed. After looking at his surroundings, Xiao Chen discovered that he was in a wooden hut. The sunlight shone in from the outside, making the hut feel very warm. There was a table not far from the wooden bed. There was a bouquet of Chinese roses on the table. Beside it was a table of home-cooked dishes. They were all vegetarian dishes, but the fragrance assailed his nostrils, causing him to be filled with anticipation for the taste of these dishes. What is this place? Why am I here? Xiao Chen thought suspiciously. He remembered that when he used the blue dragon, he was severely injured. After he obtained the red jade pendant, he fainted. How did he end up here? Did someone save him, or was he captured by someone? Whatever, I should get up first. Xiao Chen lifted the blanket and discovered that his entire body was wrapped in white bandages. A faint medicinal smell wafted out from the bandages. Xiao Chen felt an itchy sensation on his skin. It seemed like his external injuries were more or less healed. Getting up, Xiao Chen entered a state of cultivation with much difficulty. He sank his consciousness into it and slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. Something unexpected happened to Xiao Chen. The meridians in his body that should have been severely damaged were actually more or less healed. This should be the effect of consuming a good quality medicinal pill. It seemed like the person who wrapped the bandages on him had wasted a medicinal pill. Xiao Chen came out of his state of cultivation and peeled off the layers of bandages. His face slowly turned red. There were actually several layers of bandages on his private parts. If the person who wrapped the bandages was a man, Xiao Chen would even have the thought of dying. After removing all the bandages, the pale skin underneath was revealed. Xiao Chen slowly relaxed. The medicine on the bandages should be very good. It did not leave any scars, so he did not have to worry about being disfigured. There was a set of brand new men's clothes at the head of the bed. Xiao Chen felt gratified. This person had even prepared clothes for him. After putting on the clothes, Xiao Chen couldn't wait to pounce on the food on the table. Although the fasting pill could make people not need to eat, but after not eating for a long time, Xiao Chen's appetite became bland. Looking at the table full of delicious food, Xiao Chen immediately couldn't stand it. Judging from the current situation, he had definitely been saved. If he had been captured, the enemy would never have given him such a good pill and even kindly given him a set of clothes to change into. Like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds, Xiao Chen quickly devoured the dishes on the table. These small dishes were not considered delicacies, but Xiao Chen felt that they were more delicious than delicacies. Cousin, you're awake. The door of the wooden house was gently pushed open, and a surprised voice could be heard. Xiao Chen, whose mouth was filled with food, was eating in an unsightly manner. When he saw Xiao Yulan suddenly appear outside the door, he was startled and accidentally choked on the food, coughing non-stop. Cousin Yulan, why are you in the right? Xiao Chen, who only managed to catch his breath after a long time, asked in a muffled voice. Seeing Xiao Chen's appearance, Xiao Yulan giggled. Her pretty face bloomed like a flower as she laughed softly. Cousin, eat slowly first. If it is not enough, I will make more for you. Hearing these words, Xiao Chen finally understood. So it was Cousin Yulan who saved him. He casually wiped his mouth and did not move his chopsticks again. After Xiao Yulan saw him eating so deliciously, how would Xiao Chen dare to continue eating? Suddenly, he thought of the bandages on his private parts. Xiao Chen looked at Xiao Yulan and pretended that nothing had happened as he asked, Cousin Yulan, you were the one who helped me with the bandages. Xiao Yulan nodded her head. She did not seem suspicious. She said, that day, I was just returning from the inner region of the mountain range. When I heard the explosion, I rushed over. Then, I saw you lying on the ground, heavily injured. Xiao Yulan suddenly thought of something and her face turned red. She said, we are people who practice martial arts. There is no need to be bothered by the small details. It is enough to be open in mind and body. It is enough to be open in mind and body. Cousin Yulan, you are really bold and unconstrained. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. That's right, cousin, I was unconscious for a few days. It's been 2 days. Yesterday, the third elder came to see you. Seeing that your meridians were injured, he gave you a jade cloud pill. Otherwise, your internal injuries would not have healed so quickly, Xiao Yulan quickly said. At the same time, she told Xiao Chen about the details of the third elder's visit. The third elder, Xiao Tian, was in charge of all the matters of the Xiao clan's Seven-Horn Mountain. It was not strange for them to know about such a big thing that happened in the forest. What made Xiao Chen surprised was that Xiao Tian was actually willing to give him the Jade Cloud Pill to treat his injuries. This Jade Cloud Pill was a rank 4 medicinal pill with the best healing effects. In the entire Cheesy County, there was no alchemist who could refine it. In times of need, it could save a person's life. It was worth a lot of gold. I have to find an opportunity to return this favor. The next time I refine a similar medicinal pill, I will give him a bottle, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Xiao Yulan took out a red jade pendant from her bosom and asked suspiciously, "Cousin Xiao Chen, where did you get this spirit blood jade from?" Spirit blood jade, so that was the name of this red jade pendant. After making a decision in his heart, Xiao Chen told Xiao Yulan half the truth about what happened that day. Aside from hiding the heaven-ranked martial technique, the dragon subduing slash, there were no other discrepancies. He only said that he had spent a lot of effort to perish together with Tang He, and that he had obtained this red jade pendant from him. When Xiao Yulan heard that this jade pendant was obtained from Tang He, her expression changed slightly. "Yesterday, I thought this jade pendant belonged to cousin Xiao Chen, so I did not tell the third elder. Now that I see it, this matter is very important. I have to tell the third elder quickly. It is just a jade pendant, why is it so important?" The doubts in Xiao Chen's heart deepened. He suddenly remembered that when he used his spiritual sense to eavesdrop, he seemed to have heard Tang He mention something about a plan. He asked, "What is the use of this spirit blood jade?" Xiao Yulan did not hide anything. She explained the origin and use of the spirit blood jade to Xiao Chen. Speaking of the spirit blood jade, one had to start with taming beasts. Having a strong spirit beast would give one a huge advantage in battle. Thus, the cultivators of the continent had never given up on taming spirit beasts. The earliest cultivators tamed spirit beasts in the same way they tamed normal animals. They captured young spirit beasts and nurtured them when they were very young. Through feeding and training, they established a master-slave relationship to achieve the goal of taming. However, spirit beasts were different from normal animals. They had extremely high spiritual intelligence. This kind of method was unable to successfully tame a rank 4 spirit beast. There was no way to guarantee the loyalty of a rank 4 spirit beast and above. In battle, it was common for spirit beasts to devour their masters. Furthermore, this kind of taming method required a very long period of time. At the very least, it would take a few years. At the very most, it would take dozens of years. Furthermore, a spirit beast could only serve one person. There was no way to transfer it. This kind of situation only changed completely when a genius appeared. He was Mao Yanan, the person who established the Crossbeast sect. When Mao Yanan was traveling the continent, he discovered a mysterious jade. After it was polished, it could be used to store spirit beasts into the jade, allowing the person holding the jade to establish a blood contract with the spirit beast. As he continued to research it, he discovered even more secrets within the jade. He came up with all sorts of secret techniques that allowed the jade to control tens of spirit beasts at the same time. Furthermore, these spirit beasts were not separated by ranks. Imagine a person who could control tens of high-ranked spirit beasts. How terrifying would his combat prowess be? Thus, when he established the Crossbeast sect, it immediately became the #1 power in the Great Tang Nation. The secret of the spirit blood jade was only known to the public at this time. However, in the Tianwu continent, only the Great Tang Nation produced the spirit blood jade. Furthermore, the spirit blood jade was mostly controlled by the Crossbeast sect. There were very few that spread to other places. The piece of spirit blood jade in Xiao Chen's hands could be said to be extremely rare in the Great Qin Nation. Its value was much higher than a moonstone. cousin means that the Tang clan is preparing to use this blood-wedding soul jade to tame a rank 4 spirit beast and above? Xiaochen asked after he understood the crux of the matter. However, this was not a big deal. Xiao Yulan could tell that Xiaochen had doubts in his heart. She said, "This matter is not as simple as you think. According to the agreement between the 3 clans, aside from the Xiao clan, the other powers and individuals in Seven-Horn Mountain can hunt for spirit herbs and spirit beasts in small groups. However, the agreement also stated that spirit beasts of rank 4 and above, regardless of whether they are dead or alive, cannot be brought out of Seven-Horn Mountain. This is the bottom line of our Xiao clan and also the biggest source of income for Seven-Horn Mountain. Now that the Tang clan has broken the agreement, their intentions are very clear. Breaking the agreement meant that the Tang clan no longer cared about the Xiao clan in this Seven-Horn Mountain and could do whatever they wanted. This was a very serious matter. If this was not handled well and news of this got out, the Xiao clan's authority in Seven-Horn Mountain would be greatly challenged. However, why did the Tang clan dare to do this? Their strength was far inferior to the Xiao clan. Furthermore, they had always kept a low profile. Who was supporting them? Just at this moment, a dangerous aura came from afar. Xiaochen quickly released his spiritual sense. He had always been very confident in his senses. When he released his spiritual sense, Xiaochen was surprised to discover that the range of his spiritual sense had already reached 800 meters. However, before he could rejoice, Xiaochen frowned. In his spiritual sense, he saw a group of black-clothed people holding heavy crossbows. They were rushing over rapidly. This group of people were all superior-grade martial masters. The person leading them was a martial grand master. Looking at their speed, they would arrive in less than a minute. Furthermore, looking at the style of the heavy crossbows in their hands, they were not ordinary goods. It was very likely that they were the work of the heavenly craft manor. Withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiaochen hurriedly said, "There is a group of martial masters rushing towards us from the east. They will arrive in less than a minute. Then let's go quickly." Xiao Yulan's expression changed. She did not ask how Xiaochen knew about this. She pulled Xiaochen's hand and immediately jumped out of the window. Just as the two of them jumped out, there was a buzzing sound in the air. Countless arrows were fired at the wooden hut. The strength of the arrows was very strong. Soon, countless holes appeared in the wooden hut. The black-clothed people did not stop shooting. After a while, the wooden hut collapsed. Xiao Yulan turned her head and looked at the wooden hut that she had lived in for many years. Her eyes turned incomparably cold. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.